Perfect. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is Manhattan Community Board 1's November full board meeting. I am Tammy Meltzer, the chair of Community Board 1, joined with me with Colin Mahoney is taking minutes tonight as our secretary, our vice chair, Alice Blank, and some of our other elected officers like Brittany Wade, who's going to help take votes and roll call today, and our treasurer, Mariama, as well as our fabulous community boards. We start with the public session. We'll recognize our elected representatives first and then have the public speak. I ask all of our elected representatives to stay on so they can hear the concerns of the community. That would be fantastic. And we will start with State Assembly Member Yulee News Representative Claudia. You've got 2 minutes. Can you unmute Claudia, please?
Yes. Can everyone hear me now?
Welcome, Claudia. Thanks for coming.
Hello, Tammy. And on behalf of the Assembly member, unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight. Wish everyone a safe and healthy Thanksgiving. And in terms of this month, I'm going to keep it brief. We are currently working on our Thanksgiving drive. We are very appreciative of everyone who is in support of us. Tomorrow, we will be doing meal distribution all across the district. If you see us at any point, please say hi. Yulee would love to greet you guys. And as usual, please redirect any unemployment questions as well as any constituent cases to our office. I am more than happy to work on those. And in terms of CB1 specific, we are still working closely with CB1 on 18 William Street. We appreciate all the help that we got on that item. And I'm happy to stay on for the evening to continue listening to all of the concerns. And please, Tammy, take it away. I will cede my time.
Thank you. We're going to move to Comptroller Scott Stringer's office. Luke.
Hey everyone, Luke Wolf from City Comptroller Scott Stringer's office here. Also wishing everyone has a happy Thanksgiving later this week. I will share a few updates from our office, and I want to first start by talking about some of our response to the COVID health crisis. So at the start of the pandemic, Comptroller Stringer launched an investigation into the city's preparedness for and response to COVID-19, with the goal of hopefully learning about what we did and did not do in those early days and weeks, and to keep in mind that we can have better policy outcomes when the second wave comes. So we launched this over 6 months ago now, and unfortunately did not receive a single document, even after subpoenaing City Hall. So what we did was we took the administration to court last week because we really do need a response to our investigation to ensure that going forward, we can have a better response. So I'll keep you updated as this investigation unfolds, but really our goal here is to get a better understanding of what happened in those early days and weeks. So going forward, we can respond better as a city. Mr. Stringer also wrote an op-ed this week on a topic which I know is close to this board, which is on about greater transparency and accountability for police misconduct. So the op-ed lays out a plan to strengthen the CCRB and improve its effectiveness with 3 parts. The first is granting it power to make final disciplinary decisions, which currently it does not have. It's only viewed as advisory. Number 2 is removing the NYPD Office of Trials, which is what reviews a lot of these cases from the police department to a different department. And 3, expanding the CCRB's jurisdiction and powers beyond their current limited use. Lastly, we have also been focused a lot on our education system in schools, especially on the digital divide and making sure that all students have access to internet. So there are currently 100,000 students without internet across our city, 13,000 of which are in our city shelters. So we've laid out plans to make sure that both those student populations are addressed to ensure they can engage in digital learning. I will put some of those links as well as my email box. I'll send that to the host and they'll be able to hopefully drop it in the chat. But happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you all feel free to reach out for any reason.
Thank you very much, Luke. And we're going to move next to Margaret Chin's representative for CD1, that'd be Cora. Cora, do you need to do the report, or would you like us to post your report in the chat for people to click on the link? I think we'll go that way. And so we'll move on to Lizzie Lee, which is our representative from Senator Kavanaugh's office. Lizzie, can you confirm if Senator Kavanaugh is here yet?
He is currently not, and I think I should just go ahead and proceed with the updates if that's permissible. So thank you so much, everyone, and for CB1 for always convening while we have our crazy times. Just quick updates. Our office is continuing to make sure that PPEs are being distributed as much as possible. So with the slew of increasing COVID cases, please let our office know if you are in need any PPEs or hand sanitizers. I will make sure to we have that coordination. And if you have any questions in regards to evictions or housing court issues, we have a lot of constituents calling, so please make sure that you reach any of our offices, including our offices, to make sure that you're getting the social provisions that you need and making sure that you're getting your answers resolved. Your question is pertinent to local issues. We were really grateful to have provided a letter of support for Fulton Stall Market's application for assistance for the EPA, local foods and local places. So we're really thankful for the work that they're continuing to do during the pandemic. And as always, we're closely engaged with community issues, 225 Rector Street, 18 Williams, resiliency projects in Lower Manhattan, and continuing to monitor the increasing activity with the Lucerne and the displacement of the clients there, Governor's Island rezoning, and the Manhattan Detention Center. And we're continuing to work very closely with Quality of Life Committee and the Small Business Working Group. So I really look forward to continuing to grapple with our very existential issues. And I have been hearing some problems with getting PEBT cards and of course unemployment. Please reach out to our office if you have any issues regarding that. Other than that, thank you so much and happy Thanksgiving.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Lizzie, very much. Happy Thanksgiving. If the senator does come later in the meeting, just please text Lucian and let him know, and that'll be fine. All righty. We want to welcome our esteemed borough president, Gail Brewer, who's with us tonight. Gail, thank you so much, as always, for attending, and take it away.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So just quick things, February 1st, 2021, seems like a long time away, but that's when the community board applications or reapplications are due. Number two, the budget. So even though the capital budget seems like also a long way away, it takes our staff a great deal of time to try to get it right. So we'll certainly be looking at what you suggest, but there are two information sessions. Schools is December 8th at 4 o'clock. You can go to our website to figure out how to register, and nonprofits, culturals, etc. are December 10th at 11 o'clock. And again, you can go there. In terms of other things that we're waiting on the Judge James, in terms of the Lucerne on both ends of the borough. So we'll see what happens. I know that she's trying to figure it out, and I hope she does what Community Board 1 suggests, all levels. I know we're all working on Governor's Island. We're all working on South Street Seaport. And we are putting quite a bit of time. Every single day I get another call about this public realm issue of how can we, figure out who's on our streets and how we can work together. It doesn't seem to be something that is going particularly well right now. In terms of the schools, it's like a drama with the devices. To make a long story short, we have about $20 million, as I think I told you, in the bank, last year's money to pay for devices, and we cannot get DOE, OMB to release it, even though we have been pushing. So we just got a letter today, a few minutes ago, from the Department of Education, basically stating it's one of these gobbledygooks. It said they are going to comply with what they're supposed to in terms of the controller's memorandum, and they said something to the effect of Reservoir capital money was unpaused on September 18, 2020, and they have apparently reached out to 650 schools that received an allocation, and they're trying to figure out how to execute their projects. This makes me livid because all those schools do not definitely have kids who do not have devices, otherwise we wouldn't have allocated the funding there. So just so you know, we're continuing to fuss about that. Same thing with child care seats. Manhattan lost 550 slots in Manhattan. We're making a big fuss right now, particularly in Chinatown, Lower East Side, probably some in Fidei, but definitely Chinatown. And the issue, a lot in Chinatown. And the issue there is we sent the slots to other parts of the city. So we're really fussing on this one also because we cannot live just with the 3K. We need the slots and the after school. That's again the very, very short version. We're working on our affordable task force in terms of figuring out exactly, perhaps for the next mayor, what should exist. And just like everybody else, we're giving up PPP, et cetera. It's a very tough time have a great Thanksgiving. And we hope that we don't become either fully yellow. Uptown, I was all day giving out the information, looking at the long lines, giving out masks, giving out sanitizer. We walked yesterday, today, we're going to walk tomorrow. And we hope that this stays very localized and doesn't spread in terms of the orange and yellow. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Borough President Brewer. I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
You have parents. I mean, the issue for parents is even more complex. You've got those who are missing internet, those who are missing computers, and you have the application process for high schools beyond delayed.
Yep.
For SHSAT, screen schools, both middle and high school. It just seems to me the added anxiety that they're putting on the families, not only in Community Board 1, but throughout the city, is fairly untenable at this point. I mean, can't we just get it done?
Not only that, Tim, I was in learning labs today uptown, where they can. You're going to have a heart attack when you hear this. When you can have big spaces in some cases, huge. They're going to have 60 kids. They have 4. So this is craziness, right? There's no outreach. There's no explanation. These are run by very, very credible, phenomenal nonprofits, right? Lunch, breakfast, basically academics, internet, etc. They have 4 kids. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. So it's so deep in terms of the challenges. I will keep pushing on. I've been pushing about the high school to see $20-15 million sitting in the bank. You know,
it's very difficult for families, and I think what makes it worse is there's a network they could get the information out if there are Cease for Learning bridges. They have PTA networks, principals, but the information doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Yeah, learning bridges. You're correct. Sorry. Thank you so much. I will keep working on it.
Thank you very much for all that you do, and we appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And please feel free to stay with us. If we could give you coffee or a drink in person, we'd be happy to do that too. But so far, it's only virtual coffee.
What I'm going to miss is your holiday party at Pier 17. That's the best at the pier.
At the Pier A. Yeah.
Pier A. That's the best.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Madam Borough President. We'll move to Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Nadler's office.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Hannah. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I will be very short tonight. So first, the congressman has been working on getting two-way split tolling with the Verrazano Bridge for about 20 years now. And so we're really happy to announce that it's going to start December 1st. So hopefully it should help alleviate some of the traffic on Canal Street. We're really looking forward to seeing what the positive impact of that split tolling will be, and also some raised revenue. The congressman and Congress writ large are working on the HEROES Act. We, passed iterations of it in May and then again in October, and hopefully we will get something. But I will keep you posted in December if there's any movement on that. The congressman is continuing to, hold the Trump administration accountable. So a bunch of the House chairs sent out letters to the respective agencies that they within their jurisdictions to make sure that they preserve all relevant documents. And the congressman, and I believe Congresswoman Maloney also wrote a letter encouraging no, quote, midnight rules where they would change, basically they would roll back some protections kind of in the dead of night. So we're working to make sure it's a smooth transition. Luckily, the transition was officially started yesterday. So hopefully we will continue to have a smooth, productive transition into the new administration. Last, I will say that Medicare open enrollment is live. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact our office. You can also contact our office about any other federal issues. I will leave it there. Thank you all. Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. That was great. Cora is on. Lucian, can you unmute Cora and see if she'd like? Hi, Cora. Welcome.
Hi.
Councilmember Jins.
Hello, everyone. It's Cora here. Chairperson, Madam Messer. I need an extra 1 or 2 minutes. I know the clock started kicking, but please give me a couple extra minutes regarding the cargo bite Coro, the proposed project by DOT. Is that okay?
Yes, or I am happy to have you speak when we review it in executive session if you would like.
All right. Okay. So I will try it. I'll try both. On the legislative front, I just want to mention the package of age discrimination package that Councilmember Chin is the prime sponsor for 3 bills. One is about telling DIFTR to advise the Center of Older Workforce Development on age discrimination. The second one is to create a Center of Older Workforce Development to provide trainings and resources for older adults. The number 3 is the New York City Commission on Human Rights to conduct a 2-year study about ageism in the workplace and also publish recommendations. With regards to New York Harbor School, we all know that they don't have an aquatic training facility. We want to make sure you all know that Councilmember Chin has been a strong supporter of the school expansion. So today, Gigi, our chief of staff, also put the meeting together to make sure the school leadership, the PDA school leadership, and we have CB1, thank you, Tammy, Wendy, and also Tricia to join us for the discussion. We want to make sure that this pool will become a reality. With the climate change aspect, Councilmember Chin is also in great support of that. So we will continue to work with the Harbor School and the Governor's Island, especially with now we have the rezoning project. Okay, with the concerns about the cargo bike, actually, we always want to have the community get the chance to express their concerns and their opinions about any proposed changes to the neighborhood. But with this special project, it's unfortunate that they didn't get enough time to express their concerns. DOT did attend a couple meetings before, but there's still questions unanswered. So Councilmember Chin feels that it is really a shame that they couldn't send a representative to the November Transportation Committee. And there should have been more advance notice about the intention regarding the timeline for the installation. And everybody woke up this morning and then they found a bike corridor there. So our office have made contact with DOT. We spoke with Ed Pinkard, the Borough Commissioner, and also the staff. They are still responsive to the questions. So we suggest that all the committee members who share the same concerns, who have the issues, please do what CB1 suggested as of last night. The contact from DOT, make sure you send your advice, your suggestions, your thoughts, your observations, and what you're going to see in the next 6 months, because they promise that it's a pilot project. So at this point, we want to make sure you send in all those observations, any issues to the 2 contacts that DOT gave us, and we will document from there. Property management and the residents have already been in touch with me, and we've been talking. So I will continue to work with CB1 to make sure all these questions got answered. and the issues got addressed. And I expect to hear from everybody in the next 6 months about this, at least 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cora. I'll go over what those emails are and when we get further down the road into the session. I think that's it for all of our electeds today, unless Lucian or Colin see anybody else in the sign-in sheet. I don't see any of our other electeds. Okay, so we're going to open it up for a public dialogue, and I will start with Rob Magliaro, and then from there move to Steve Rodriguez. Okay, so Rob, take it away. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, everybody. I'm calling in to talk about the reopening of the Brooklyn banks. I have a pretty unique perspective in that I'm calling in both as like a lifelong skateboarder, because it's a really important, iconic spot for skateboarders, but also as the co-founder and principal of the Urban Assembly School for Emergency Management. It's one of the 4 high schools. It's across the street in the Murray-Bertram campus. And so that space is invaluable to our school. It's been closed since we opened there in 2013. But as many of you might know, the Murray-Bertram campus is both windowless and doesn't have immediate accessible outdoor space for our students. So particularly right now during COVID-19, it makes it really difficult for us to have any sort of PE classes, because indoor PE classes with the aerosols and no outdoor ventilation, we can't really run any physical activity for kids. So if the space was open across the street, we would be able to do that pretty easily. In normal times, we could use that space for PE. We've talked about it a lot across our different campuses, the 4 different schools. My school serves 300 students, but there's about 2,000 students in the building. And all 4 principals and PA leaders have been really interested in opening up the basketball courts there, the shuffleboard, the Brooklyn Bank space for our kids to use. We have city championship basketball teams on both the girls and boys side. So the basketball courts at our school and our co-located campus, it's really difficult for us to get court time and coordinate across the building, so it alleviates some of that. And then we also have outdoor lunch for our students. So just in general, like opening that space up would really allow us to have some substantial access for outdoor learning in the foreseeable future, and just for programming for our students going forward.
Thank you very, very much. I know this is a topic that has been taken up at Waterfront Parks and Cultural and will be continuing in that committee. So thank you for coming up, Rob. And I think Steve Rodriguez is next on the same topic. Steve? Steve?
Go ahead, Steve.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, sorry about that. I had trouble connecting. Yeah, my name's Steve Rodriguez, and just want to thank everybody for their time. I've been a user of the Brooklyn Banks area as well since the 1980s. It's a great open space downtown that the public has always used. Everybody from, the students from the high school across the street or the local school across the street, tourists, skateboarders, BMXers, rollerbladers, parkour groups, people doing Tai Chi, people exercising. It's a meetup place for many people. I actually met my wife there. I actually also utilize the space. I taught my son how to ride a bike there because it's a big open space downtown where he's not going to run into somebody. I've worked with the DOT when the banks were kind of renovated in 2004. I worked with the DOT and Parks Department to help them re-envision the space so that it was space for everybody. I've also designed many skate parks for the DOT, Golconda Skate Park, Sergeant Doherty Skate Park, Highbridge Skate Park, and I work with them on a public plaza under the K Bridge in Brooklyn. the space is just a great outlet for people of all ages. Kids really thrive in that environment where it's this big open space in a city where there's less and less open public space. Kids can challenge themselves there, whether they're trying to slide down the bank on their shoes or ride a skateboard or ride a bike. It's just a place where they can challenge themselves. They can build relationships there, because I've seen it for many years, again, since the 1980s. And it's a place where I've seen many people, build themselves up, practice there, whatever they're into. And, there's also basketball courts there, handball courts. So it's just this multi-use space that I think needs to be, brought back.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, guys.
As you know, it is still a topic in discussion. I don't think anything is final yet. And I stick around, as I say. All right, let's move on to, we've got a lot of people signing in. This is good. We're going to recognize Susan Peters from New Yorkers for Wired Tech. And after Susan Peters, we're going to go to Gerald Forsberg.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Susan Peters. I am a longtime resident of New York City and a member of the local group New Yorkers for Wired Tech. I wish to alert the community to a health danger in our neighborhoods. The City of New York has approved all in one shot the installation of 11,500 wireless antennas installed on utility poles. 8,200 have already been installed in the 5 boroughs, and there are plans for another 3,400 to be installed. But the public is not informed of the high levels of radiation coming from the antennas, already causing residents of our city to move from their apartments. Antennas are installed outside the walls of their apartments, and they become too sick to stay where they are. Recently, the state of New Hampshire established a commission to study this issue. Their report, just issued to the governor, concluded that safety insurances for 5G have, quote, come into question because of the thousands of peer-reviewed studies documenting deleterious health effects associated with cell phone radiation exposure. They asked, quote, why have thousands of peer-reviewed studies, including the recently published U.S. toxicology program, 16 years, $30 million, showing a wide range of statistically significant DNA damage, brain and heart tumors, infertility, and so many other ailments being ignored by the FCC. In the chat, I'm going to send you a link to my talk, my local organization, and this New Hampshire report. Thank you very much. Please consider making this an issue to be studied by your community.
Thank you so much for coming. And I think I'm not 100%, but I believe that would go under our Quality of Life Committee. So I look forward to connecting the two of you there.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Gerald Forsberg, you're next. And after Gerald is going to be Roger Manning.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to chime in regarding the Governor's Island rezoning. I wanted to thank the Trust for Governor's Island for updating their website and making it a lot more transparent as well as user-friendly in regards to the real estate and the South rezoning and the RFPs. Beyond that, I'm going to reserve any other comments, I guess, for future land use meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Roger Manning, you're next. Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you. Hi, folks. I'm Roger Manning, a longtime downtown Manhattan resident and a frequent visitor to Governor's Island since 2005. I actually visited there in 1982 once as well. A more detailed presentation against the proposed rezoning of Governor's Island South will be sent to the community board soon. The current proposal for rezoning and development on Governor's Island will not resolve the financial needs, and it is essentially a Trojan horse that will facilitate overdevelopment on public land. The latest plan was revealed just in September, and the community board committee vote, I understand, is scheduled for December 14th. And so there hasn't really been enough time for community input, it feels. And I'm sure a number of people I've been speaking with, we would like to see, I know this isn't necessarily the community board's territory, but to resume the moratorium on all uniform land reviews, uniform land use review procedures during COVID. I know there was a moratorium up until, like, I guess September or so, or midsummer, and well, COVID's spiking again, and people just aren't able to give it, you know, these things, this and other issues, the proper attention. So we're hoping that maybe something can be done about that. Two quick questions is where to find the actual uniform land use review procedure application for Governor's Island. I've found certain links, they give an overview, but I mean the actual wording of it. And the other question is roughly how many people have managed to send in comments regarding Governor's Island to the community board? More stuff coming. We'll be on, you know, future meetings with you. Thank you.
Not a problem, Roger. We are happy to connect you with our district manager early next week, and he can go over with you where you can find on the website what information we have for the alert process. Not a problem. And we are still accepting public comment, so I can't give you a number yet. We did receive a significant portion of written comment, as well as you can imagine from the meeting last month. We will still be accepting public comment through December, and all the board members will be able to review that as well before we vote in December. So I hope
put a link for the public comment, and that has a link to some of the materials for Governor's Island, if you'd like, I can put in the chat.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Roger. Next, I'm going to Wendy Brewer, and I hope I said that appropriately. I apologize if I butchered that. Also on the topic of Governor's Island. I might be at the end of her availability for time.
I don't see, I'm looking, I don't see a Wendy.
So she may have dropped off. We will add her commentary to the public comment because she was writing for Governor's Island as well. Okay.
Sorry, Kimmy, do you want me to read that?
You can read that. Yeah, sure.
No, sorry. Oh, it's in the chat?
It's in... No, we'll submit it as part of her written comment for Governor's Island. Her comments that she put in when she signed in today. We're going to move to another topic. I'm going to recognize Justine Kucha, who's speaking on behalf of affordability in Lower Manhattan. Justine.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to... Okay, so not the right one that I'm going to look at. Sorry, I actually have notes. Go faster, and I'm wasting my time. All right. Well, what I want to talk about in Lower Manhattan is talking about affordability in not just Battery Park City, but all of Manhattan. I think I have like written notes that I put in, so it's going to be more eloquent than what I'm saying. But I've said before this board that $300 million is enough for the Battery Park City Authority to collect from the residents and workers in residents and owners of businesses in Battery Park City. But that's only part of the conversation and part of the problem. That $300 million is made up of ground rent, pilot, and also some other like common fees, whatever. But the biggest portion of that is the pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. Now that is what brings me to the rest of Manhattan. The rest of Manhattan is subjected to also taxes, real estate taxes. And unfortunately in Manhattan, there is a distinction, well, all of New York City and all of New York State, there's a distinction between class 1 homes and class 2 homes. Class 1 homes are like the little white house with a picket fence, whatever, suburbs, 1-family homes. Class 2 homes are large condos and co-ops and apartment buildings. And then there's a little bit of in between, but let's just stick with that. Class 1 homes have caps on the amount of annual increases that the tax can be every year. That's why people like our parents and our parents' parents could afford to stay in their homes, raise kids, retire there, live out their whole old age there if they want to, and actually have something that they can know and understand what the costs are going to be from the day they bought it till the day they sell it 50, 60, 70 years later, or whatever they decide to do. Difference is Class 2 homes in Manhattan, there is no cap. And am I out of time? Because I have flipped pages. So if I'm out of time, go and look at my written statement. But the point of it is that this is something that all people in Manhattan need to come together on. We need to work together to attack the real estate tax lack of a cap. And the mayor did try to address it before COVID by impaneling a task force to look into the inequities there. They came up with a really great report, explains the whole thing, explains the inequities. But the problem is that instead of having a cap on the amount of money, it's just, well, how are we going to make it fairer? We need to collect, $10 billion. How are we going to make it fairer? There's no way to make it fairer. You're going to rob from Peter to pay Paul. What we have to do is realize that we have to get our money for someplace else, and it cannot be real estate taxes, because you cannot take people and put them out of their homes. It was a great system that worked to keep our parents in their homes and keep the roofs over their heads for a long time. That same benefit and that same consistency of payment and understanding what your costs are going to be as you age and as you grow needs to be in place for condo and co-ops in Manhattan, and it needs to remain the same for Class 1 homes. Thank you.
Justine. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Justine.
No, you're welcome. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, we're gonna move on to Dylan Agron.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Hi, my name's Dylan. I'm a former resident of 13 Harrison Street, and it's recently come to my attention that there's a proposal to construct an extension onto the roof at this address in Tribeca. And I feel that the proposed project is a pretty major threat to the longstanding architectural history and culture in general of the neighborhood. The extension, which has been proven by the mock-up that's standing right now, is visible from street level as well as from neighboring buildings. And speaking from personal experience as somebody who's really familiar with the neighborhood and the building in specific, I know that the rooftop communities and villages that are there and still exist today are really integral to New York City society as a whole. And I have countless memories personally of growing up on my own rooftop and learning to garden from family on one side, and also forging a pretty strong relationship with our neighbors on the other side and their two sons, Spencer and Thomas, who we're still in contact with. So I feel like relationships like these obviously can't happen under, a futuristic glass bubble like the one that is proposed. And the architecture of Tribeca, to me, is really not a matter of design and aesthetic. It's the foundation of the community, and it brings people that are strangers together to become friends and members of a united community. Obviously, the culture of the city is changing and kind of moving away from that unity, in my opinion. And I'm not really opposed to the change. In fact, I find it necessary in most cases. But I feel like this isn't a super necessary change, and the plans proposed by Mr. Belosky to turn a building that has stood as a warehouse, a single-family home, a communal live-work space, and in my opinion, a pillar of history for so long, into a collection of fancy condominiums is a pretty clear step towards the commercialization and erasure of cultural roots by the super wealthy of the beautiful neighborhood that I still call home. And I think these buildings are the last thing standing to remind us of New York City's history, and these plans disregard that history and culture and threaten the communities founded in the small-scale architecture. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for speaking up. And with that, we're going to go to Jamie Sikorsky, who is representing 99 and 101 Warren Street. For those who were not at our executive committee meeting last night, we had a rather robust dialogue. Jamie is here as the only one representing the group. There were somewhere around 50 people on just for that topic last night. And then after Jamie, we're going to Carrie Davidson.
Thanks, Tammy. I'm joining on behalf and as Tammy mentioned, in lieu of all of the residents of Warren Street and the other community members that have expressed their severe concerns surrounding the Amazon cargo bike corral. Prioritizing, I just want to thank Tammy and the rest of the exec committee for their time last night. And as Susan mentioned at the top of the call, certainly everyone's patience while they heard from quite a few concerned citizens. All of the concerns were also emailed to Lucian, so I'm not going to go over them again. Unfortunately, as Cora mentioned when she spoke, despite the exec committee's proposed resolution to delay the trial period for the installation, it was in fact installed first thing this morning by DOT, which in my opinion is another example of a lack of transparency, a lack of honesty from the DOT, and also their clear prioritization of Amazon over the residents and over the community, which is abhorrent in my opinion. We'll continue to voice the concerns and hope to have your continued support. Sorry, that's my cat in the background. But really, I just wanted to thank everyone for last night because you guys were amazing and you were super patient. And I know that all the residents and everyone really appreciated you listening and taking the time. So that's it.
Thank you, Jamie. Stick on. I'm going to ask you to stick on through our executive committee. That would be great. Next is Carrie Parker Davidson. And Carrie, you are the last one in the public session. Unless Colin or Lucian tell me that there is anyone else, I believe you are the last to go tonight. So take us home.
Okay. Well, I'll sort of piggyback on what Jamie was saying because we have a similar issue with regard to the city bike infill and expansion plan. And again, it's lack of transparency, lack of regard for the community board transportation committee, and lack of regard for the community that we all love. So yes, I am the last one standing. I have been at community board transportation committee meetings, executive meetings, and full board meetings. And these meetings last, as you know, 3 hours at a stretch. And this has been going on since September. While we've all been working hard, the DOT has failed to deliver. The community board asked for a review of a master plan. The DOT did not deliver. And it's becoming clear due to the guidance of this group that my efforts are better directed at the elected officials because we can get our voices heard, perhaps, finally, if we reach those other additional folks. So his office is no longer on. It looks like Cora has had to go, but I will continue to reach out to them and I will continue to rely on this group to represent the community in the process of prioritizing how we are using open space in Community Board 1. That means how we are using curb space, how we are using sidewalk space, how we are using traffic vehicular space, so that we can build a better community life for ourselves and how we move about and amongst each other in this neighborhood. So I appreciate the time and
stick on, Carrie. Stick on. Don't go anywhere so fast because believe me, you may think the conversation started maybe in September, but I think they've been happening way, way longer than that. And this is not the first time, for example, that Madeline came from Duane Park Patisserie to talk to us about any inequity in citing of things, inequity and approval. So this is not.
The resolution started in September, but the conversation's been going on for months and months and months, 6 months.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd say stick on with us. You'll hear, yeah. Okay, so I think with that, I see no others. Colin, affirmed. Nobody else in the public session. Lucian?
Affirmed.
Awesome. So with that, let's put the agenda back up. We're going to close the public session. Thank you so much for everybody coming. So who's got my agenda?
Lucian, you need to pass presenter back to me, please. Thank you.
Working on it.
Whoa. Okay. So with that, the October 2020 minutes went out. Can I get a motion to approve? And
So
a second?
moved. Sorry.
Second. That's okay. Second. I'll second it. All right. And if do I hear any nays, abstentions, or recusals? All right. Minutes are passed. Let's start with our district manager report. Lucian Reynolds.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us here. It's always great to see everyone remotely. This month, I've mostly been on parental leave still. So I thank you for all of your patience. I've only been actually technically at work a couple of days, but I've seen you at the meetings and everyone is still just pulling along. And so I want to thank the members for picking up some of my duties. And I really want to thank the staff of the Community Board 1 office for really supporting us, and me and EJ and the family for allowing us to do this, and also especially Tammy for blocking off and running interference on lots of other things that keep from landing on my plate. I was, however, able to connect with the Department of Design and Construction and advocating for catch basins to be installed in JP Ward in Washington, the corner where water is collecting just on the other side of the curb line from the new pedestrian bridge. This is going to be a long process where DDC is interested in the idea, but I have to really push it and sell it to the Department of Environmental Protection. And there's all sorts of factors about existing sewer access and the like. So it's going to be a longer process, but I'll keep trying to push on that. Also want to report that Dick Bach, who is a housing expert, I had a conversation with him today, and he'll be joining the Quality of Life Committee meeting in December for an open discussion about affordable housing preservation. So if you have an interest in affordable housing preservation, please join us at that meeting. I'll be updating the agenda, so when everything goes out on Friday, everyone will see that, but it should be a good talk. And that's all I have, Tammy.
Okay. Andrew, you've got your hand up, and Justine has her hand up. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be, but you know how to unmute yourself. Andrew first. Oh, Andrew's down. Justine, is your hand up for?
It was just a quick question for Lucian. Lucian, that's affordable housing for renters, right? Or rentals? I'm assuming it's all rental discussion, correct? Thank you.
Dealing with our remaining portfolio of 421A buildings, 8020, and any other affordable programs. Basically building off of Tom Goodkind legacy, his work in collecting data, and then seeing what steps we have to do to take moving forward in trying to get the city and other groups to enforce what affordability is left.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to run into the chairperson report, and in keeping with my preference for keeping it short, it's a really crazy busy month and time overall in the city, very targeted specifically to Community Board 1. Here are some of the highlights of some of the things we're going through. You've got 250 water, the zoning changes for Governor's Island, the text amendment change. I think those two pictures show a great deal. I'm going to let everybody do their own reports, but if you're looking at the yellow on the left on your screen, that doesn't look like a lot. That's what it used to cover. The yellow on the right now covers it all. So that gives you an idea. And of course, dealing with outdoor dining and DOT. I have some sad news to present. Mitch Froman's dad passed away this week. So He will not be with us this evening, but if you'd like to send an email or a note, that I'm sure he and his family and his kids would greatly appreciate that. So next slide, please. So it's been busy, as I said. We sent a letter to the SLA regarding submersive, which used to be called immersive, which is 18 William Street, 20 Exchange Place. We were supported by all of our electeds. We hope that SLA understands that this does not add to the quality of life and is not in the public interest and denies them their liquor license as passed in committee. Cargo bikes. Well, you've heard, we have a vote coming up in executive, so I'm going to go over things there with the next patterns and the next steps. 52 William Street, as of today, as you heard, there's no ruling. The temporary restraining order remains for the group of men from the Lucerne until we hear otherwise. And in case anybody is wondering, yes, the borough-based jail's design plans are still continuing, even though the court case asked them to pause any physical things. The city does not believe that includes working forward on design plans. The next Hudson River Advisory Board Council meeting is Tuesday the 8th. It's held virtually. If you want to know what's going on with the trust, please feel free to drop in there. And then public engagement process. Let's hit the next slide. Okay, so we've had a lot of conversations since I became chair about the role of the community board. And the key is that we are advisory, which is super frustrating because then we are also asked to assist with outreach and communicating with the people in the district. What I've seen in the last 5 months has been a complete lack of alignment of how the city does engagement in any stroke of the fashion. So where we have an applicant that will come before us for landmarks, for land use issues, for SLA, we have applicants that don't come and don't have any community input and yet to do things like cargo bike areas. And we are notified, not asked our opinion necessarily, not statistics, not information. There's no two-way street. I find it rather strange from a mayor who talked about governing from community base up. So we're going to, executive committee for the next couple months with the district manager are going to take on looking on alignment of engagement for the city agencies. And this kind of goes cross and every single committee, which is why we're going to take it in executive. And then we're going to come up with what we think should be an engagement process that makes it easier. Gail Brewer has spoken many times about a czar of public realm. Guess what? We just want public engagement that's fair, engaging, and full of facts and details. So that's one of the things looking ahead. And you can tell we participate in budget, the capital program, the district needs, which includes ULURP and scoping and seeker review, etc. And then we are the people who monitor and evaluate delivery of services. It is exceedingly frustrating to tell everybody on a community level, log your report to 311. And I'm standing there, literally standing on the sidewalk, make my report to 311. And NYPD closes it 4 minutes later as being solved. And 5 hours later, there's still a car blocking a fire hydrant. Nobody's done anything. So we'll have those conversations in executive committee. We don't need to debate it now. Bring all of your ideas, bring all of what you know about how we engage in each one of your committees with your city agencies. Let's do a nice comparison and see if we can find some better ground to try and stake forward and help, because with an election year gives us an opportunity to start saying, this is not right, this is what we need. Okay, and I'm done with my chair report, which rolls into executive committee. Okay.
Tammy, I had my hand up there.
Oh, sorry, Mark, missed you. What's up, Mark?
Just a comment, and maybe staff could research this. I think the language might be in the city charter for this, with regards to community boards, but it's somewhere, and it states that the city agencies or others agencies cannot be arbitrary and capricious and ignoring our resolutions, even though it's only advisory. But it's advisory, but cannot be dismissed outright, or the language arbitrary and capricious. So we can have someone research to where that language exactly is. I recall off the top of my head from a million years ago that it might be in the city charter. But if we can find out where that is, so we can use that in the resolution.
Hold on, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is really hard to understand you. Your connection is not very solid. I don't know if that's you or me.
Let me move my is that better?
Yes, but please don't yell because you're already quite loud.
Okay, all right. I moved my mic. All right, so I'll start over and I'll be.
No, don't start over. Hold it all for executive committee next month.
My point is, if someone can research to where that language exists, so we can use it at the meeting, so we can quote it.
I am electing you.
I thought that the staff would have better resources for this, but
you know what? You got a great idea, Mark. Run with it, and we'll see you at executive committee for it.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Renewal of the Street Fair Task Force resolution. If you can put that resolution up, please. It is a very basic and easy. Our task forces need to be renewed yearly. They are by our charter, by our bylaws. So we are getting a head start on this one because it expires in January. So just one less thing we have to vote on in December. And when Diana gets that up, we'll go from there and then into cargo and then city bike and 13. Okay.
Give me just 1 second, Tammy. I'm pulling it up right now.
No sweat.
Tammy, while it's coming up, I also have my hand up.
Wow.
Second time.
I saw a check. Okay. Hey, go for it.
So
Sorry,
regarding, no worries. Regarding 52 Williams, they had mentioned that although there was somewhat of a moratorium on moving from the Lucerne, they did intend to move other individuals into that facility as a temporary measure or step. Do we know if that has proceeded?
Yes, it is. There are 22 men who are living there currently that they have moved in. Oof. Put yourself on mute, Andrew. Hear the dishes. There are 22 men who are currently living there. Pat Moore, if you want to say anything more than that.
No, I was going to say that they're, we've been in contact with the provider, Black Vets, for the last 3 weeks, and that's it. There hasn't been any problems. Like I said, they've been in touch with us, and we're waiting to hear which way the case is settled with the Lucerne. Theoretically, if the clients from the Lucerne are moved down to 52 William, then the clients that are currently living there will stay there, be joined by the gentleman from the Lucerne. The provider will be changed back to Project Renewal, who's running the Lucerne at the moment. And that's what we know.
Great, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Andrew, thank you so much. I thought that check mark was a thumbs up, so thank you. I don't see any other hands up, so let's go. This is going to be a roll call vote because it's our first. So remember, roll call is always for attendance first. And if you can hopefully see this, it is just extending the street fairs task force in the ideal and hope that we have a vaccine and we're able to do events, outdoor events sometime in 2021. Okay. Do I hear a call the question?
I call the question.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Brittany, roll call.
Great. Can you hear me? Okay.
Pause.
Awesome. So if everyone could just say their name and their vote as I go through, that would be great. Amoruso.
And
great. Burton.
Yes. Yes, for Burton.
Okay. So just to remind what Brittany has said, so when you do roll call and you're going to vote, you say Meltzer votes yes. So it's on record. Okay. We have you, Mark Amoruso, and we have you, Tom Burton. Thank you. Sorry, Brittany, keep going.
Yep, no worries. Thanks. Blank.
Blank votes yes.
Brown Kennedy.
Kennedy, yes.
Cameron,
Cameron votes yes.
Cassell,
Cassell votes yes.
Chang,
Votes yes.
got it. Chapman, Chapman. Okay. Charkoudian,
Charkoudian votes yes.
thanks. Chu, Chu, Cole,
Cole votes yes.
Kucha,
Kuchia, yes. Thank you.
Cunningham,
Cunningham, yes.
Curtis,
Curtis votes yes.
Ehrman,
Airman, yes.
Flynn,
Yeah.
Flynn,
Flynn votes yes.
Frank Kerr,
Frank votes yes.
Friedman,
Yes. Friedman, yes.
thanks. Galloway,
Galloway, yes.
Goldstein,
Goldstein, yes.
Gupta,
Gupta, yes. We do.
Jesse.
There's 2 beers.
There's some background noise. Jesse. Okay. James.
James, yes.
Joyce. Joyce. Okay. Kay.
Hey, yes.
Kennel.
Cannell, yes.
Kettering.
Kettering, yes.
Appel.
Hotel, yes.
Pimentas.
Yes.
Lamory.
Lamory, yes.
Lerner.
Lerner, yes.
Lewinson.
Lewinson, yes.
Mahoney.
Mahoney, yes.
McHugh.
McHugh, yes.
Meltzer.
Sorry, Meltzer, yes. Very excited. My son just lost a tooth. Woo!
Okay. Mahalski.
Halsky, yes.
Myhawk. Myhawk. Okay. Monjovi. Monjovi. Okay. Moore.
Yes.
Notaro. Notaro. Okay. Schneck. Schneck. Okay. Star.
Bob, you're
Star.
on.
Star is here. She's just got to be unmuted. She's one of the dial-ins. I'm looking for the number now.
Bob is here
I'll come
too.
back to her.
Yeah.
Schneck is here. He's answering.
Yes.
Yes.
Schneck votes yes.
Got
I believe
got you.
Laura's been moved over to the panelists.
Okay. Star.
Laura, you should be able to unmute yourself.
I can come back to her. Sung.
Sung, yes.
Tedesco. Tedesco. Townley. Townley. Okay. Wade. Wade, yes. Weinstock.
Weinstock, yes.
She.
She, yes.
Zelter.
Zelter, yes.
Brittany, Wendy is now unmuted in the call-ins.
Okay, perfect. She's the first one I list. Chapman. Yes, I vote yes, Chapman. Great, thank you. Chu. Okay.
Star's
Jesse?
working on her audio, by the way.
Okay. I have a couple of names before I get back to her. Jesse. Okay. Joyce. Myhawk. Okay.
Sorry, Monjovi, yes.
Is that a yes for Myhawk?
Monjovi.
Monjovi, okay. Thanks. Nataro. Okay. Star.
So she's here and she's over as an attendee. She's having audio issues. I see her, so I don't want to mark absent. Not sure what we can do to help her. Lucian, can you try and shoot?
Or I'm going to email you call-in instructions.
Okay, great. Tedesco. Townley. Okay, that's it. Motion passes.
Fantastic. Jason, you have your hand up. Is there a reason? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right, let's rock and roll. So the next one we're going to in executive committee is the cargo bikes. So we had a really robust meeting last night. For people who remember, in October, DOT came to us about the cargo bike and transportation. And we asked them to do some outreach to the buildings that were affected on the block. They came back at the executive committee, said they had done the outreach to the affected buildings. And we had a robust dialogue and declined to support the cargo bike corral. And said to them, you know, we really want to see other options. We want to have a different dialogue. Then we got a letter from Commissioner Pinkar, which we shared last night, that I received on the 23rd of this month, saying they're going to move forward with the cargo bike corral. They had done everything that they felt they needed to do. It was a pilot program, and that we could collect feedback and send it to them because it is a pilot that they would like to get it tried. Now, the amount of community outreach last night that came back through was even surprising for me, because we had been told that they had done community outreach, but the buildings from 99 and 101 Warren came and said they were never spoken with, and the property manager came as well. The Tribeca Alliance came and they were unhappy with it as well. So there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of conversation. This resolution tries to encompass everything that came, both the concerns from the residents, the concerns, everything. This was not about only losing, you know, parking. It really wasn't about the parking. It was quality of life concerns for having a privatized loading dock open 24 hours a day outside underneath residential buildings. We know that there is no enforcement, so cargo bikes driving either direction on the street on a one-way narrow street was a concern. We tried to ask basically DOT to postpone it. We had also asked Whole Foods to come, which they never did, to explain, much like other applicants do, who, what, where, why, and how. So it may seem moot because they are doing it, but what is really important here, other than being on record and the local stakeholders having everything put out here, is that we are saying that all pilot projects must include community engagement outreach before. So this is not about notification, this is about engagement. And we wanted them to bring the applicant to answer questions before installation, because I think it's totally fair. They have not necessarily been 100% good neighbors. And, you know, one could say that, well, you know, it's better to not have the vans with the pollution, which we all agree. That's really not the question. The question really was, is there a better alternative location? Is there a street better suited? And the community said they believed that Murray Street was better. They believed that the loading dock would have been a better place for them to use. And why they couldn't is not something that, you know, was answered to the satisfaction of the community by DOT, or even answered at all by the applicant. So this is why we're voting on this today. We will post on the website and in the newsletter, because what we're going to have to do is actual observations for those people who live around or anybody who travels through. This has now become, unfortunately, in the purview of and the responsibility of the public to take photos and email them to DOT and CB1 so we can track all and any issues that exist, which include loading on the sidewalks, any delivery trucks, because they have DOT claimed in the letter that there would be no more deliveries, either ingoing or outgoing on the Warren Street side of the building. So there's that. And basically anything that doesn't qualify as they described it when they came. So public access has to be maintained to the bike racks that they're putting over there and everything else that goes with it. So that is where we are. And since we've done a roll call, you can see the therefore be it resolves here. And we're going to recognize questions. Mariama. And then Bruce.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, I just want to reiterate how very disgusting this is, the lack of public engagement. And as you mentioned that their claim, I guess, is that they're going to remove these vans from delivering. However, idling vans or idling engines, period, for more than 5 minutes is against the law. So they're not doing us a favor by removing the vans. The vans need to be removed, period, whether this happens or it does not happen. And it just really makes me frustrated. I'll be using nice words today. Makes me frustrated when people run a con on me like they're doing me a favor. When some money and that of my peers and my friends and my family members who pay the bulk of taxes in the city, by the way, who are paying for it. Just wanted to go on record.
You know where I'm standing. I believe in cargo bikes as a general rule. I do not think this was the best location myself for it, but you know, Bruce Ehrman, hands up.
I don't know if this is the
stick to topic.
Can you hear me? No?
Yes. Is it about the if it's about the cargo bikes or DOT, then yes. If not, no.
DOT is going to come up again, is that correct? Or in terms of what Carrie said? No?
Oh, that's the next topic, yes. That's
okay, I'll wait till the next topic.
You got it.
However, I agree as usual 100% with Mariam, but I'll wait till the next topic.
Okay. So so let's pass the cargo bike one as it is. Because we've already done our roll call to help Brittany out here and to make our meetings more efficient, the way we roll is everybody is here based on beforehand the vote we just took. If you were not here for the first vote and you were not verbally recognized, i.e. Laura Starr, you need to call your name out and vote. Everybody else, you're only going to be called for nays, abstentions, or recusals. Okay? So, oops. Sorry, my kid's showing me the tooth. All right, so Laura, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
And your vote?
Yes.
Perfect. So all others we will assume are yes. Are there any nays? No's?
Frank Kerr.
Okay, so I have Frank Kerr, no. I have Cannell, no.
Hey, no.
Hey, no. Great. Anybody else? Are there any?
I have Kay, Franker, and Cannell, right?
Yes.
Cannell.
Any
Okay.
abstentions?
Galloway abstain.
Any recusals?
Zelter abstain, sorry.
Okay. So we have 3 no's. Zelter abstains and Galloway abstains. 2 abstentions. Motion passes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is the cargo bikes. Okay. So again, we had a presentation.
Cargo bikes, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry. Next is city bike. Cargo bike, city bike. Okay, so we have had a variety of different resolutions on city bike. This one is very specifically about infill and expansion. This one is very specifically targeted, again, with the discussion that they came to transportation this month, and were to tell us of 4 new stations that they are looking to add. We did have a good dialogue with them. We asked them to come back at executive with a bulk of data, because as was asked at transportation, we wanted to understand what the saturation and usage was and what the master plan for Community Board 1, which is something we've asked for several times. We're not saying we're against City Bike, but what we wanted to understand in the world of COVID and post and pre-COVID is, what does the usage look like? What are the metrics that they're working with and how it works? There was one of the representatives from DOT said it wasn't that they had a requirement to fulfill a contractual obligation for the expansion. And a lot of that was obviously in northern Manhattan, but there were large parts of it that were here as well. We don't have any issues with City Bike as a whole, but we do want to say that there were problems that we had with the locations. We have been, as Carrie mentioned in the public session, we've asked them to move stations. Getting a station moved has not proved easy, fruitful, or timely. So we asked for more time. Again, this goes back to the public engagement process. And there is a building who was quite dismayed with the siting of a City Bike station on the historic stones, which will be ruined. There was another building who was, people are unhappy about siting it inside a POPs or on a sidewalk because there's not enough instruction, as you can see from the reso, for people to know where to be riding. The 4 stations that were infill were Water at John, Spruce at Gold, Fulton and Pearl in a POPs, and Albany at Greenwich. Okay, keep going. So we objected in general to them being sited in front of restaurants, which would limit space for open seats, or on sidewalks versus the parking lane if the parking lane was available. Again, it's a loss of parking, but better for our sidewalks and social distancing. We said we didn't want them inside the POPs where a parking lane could be available. So, all right. So we supported the expansion in 2 non-controversial locations in general, Water at John and Spruce at Gold. We requested for more robust engagement with the online portal. And then slide down just a little bit, Diana, please. Okay. So we urge them to take the feedback we gave them for Albany at Greenwich and Pearl and Fulton. We'd like notification to come 2 months before, so we have an opportunity to do some outreach as well as they do to make sure that there's plenty of time for community feedback. What we don't want is the same situation we've been with in the past when it comes to City Bike, where we have a restaurateur who has reached out to the community board for help. And then instead of getting it moved, they get a notification that they have to remove their sidewalk stuff because the City Bike station is expanding. It flies in the face of everything that we are trying to work with the community and DOT to make a positive expansion. And with that, you can read the rest of it. We're gonna open up with questions. Justine, I see your hand, but Bruce is first.
Okay, this is my moment on the issue. First of all, I came in at the second part of Carrie's public discussion. Are we including Duane Park, or is that not a part of this issue?
We have already, Lucian, didn't we do a resolution on Duane Park already in September?
I believe so.
Yeah. We've already done one for Duane Park. That's already done. we can, this is targeted to the 4 news stations that they came to us about.
Okay. What I wanted to say was that at this point, it's been for a while. Department of Transportation is out of control. They're an agency that some agencies just flounder, but I can reach Department of Environmental Control much easier than DOT. DOT, as we have seen recently, with the reconstruction of Worth Street and so on, there's so many changes of personnel that literally one round of personnel has no idea what the immediately prior round of personnel agreed to. Nor do, in talking with them, for instance, about that and about this and about Bogarta's Triangle, they often, people assigned to our area have no concept of what our area is. They have no interior knowledge of our neighborhoods. And I think we have to be a little stronger about DOT. We need to make a strong, unmodified position. Like some of these are so kind and polite and modified. DOT doesn't work that way. We have to make it clear, to the extent that we have any muscle or power, that we cannot tolerate anymore DOT's completely undemocratic way of serving the city. Whether it's a separate resolution, whether it's this resolution is made stronger, it's time to contact all of our officials and say that we can no longer stand DOT's manner of operation.
That is going to come up on when we do public engagement in executive committee per agency, because what we want to do is have it aligned. We want to be able to understand and have something that's, the burden should not be on the community board. If we're advisory, then they should work with us. So those are conversations that will come with that. For tonight, we are opining on the 4 stations and the process that had with this, because that's all that they're asking us about. And I do hear you, Bruce, loud and clear. Justine, and then Joe Lerner, and then Jeff Galloway, and then Vicky.
Thanks, Tammy. All right, so I support the resolution as written. It's all fine. I have a question, and I'm sorry I missed the executive last night. What is going on with the bike dock, city bike rack dock that used to be on West 10th Street? They redid the street recently, and now there's nothing there. And I believe there's still nothing there. Are they putting them back? My city bike app says pending.
Yeah.
Good.
That is something that is not related to this particular one, but if you email the office can follow up. I believe they're not done with the roadbed yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Joe? Justine, take your hand down. Joe, you can unmute yourself.
Gold and where?
By the hospital.
That's not good enough. What do you mean by the hospital? On the hospital? Wait. On the hospital block?
Spruce and Gold at that intersection.
Wait a second. You have to be more specific. Number one, there's a hospital and their ambulances go every which way around that area. That's number one. Number two, the school's there. Number three, there are old seniors crossing there. So I would like to know specifically where.
Betty, do you remember? Dr. K?
Sorry, I had to unmute. No, they just give the intersection. But again, people have to realize they're putting them where cars currently park. They're in a parking lane. So when you talk about seniors, children, anyone else.
Stop. You're not answering my question. My question is where? I don't care what they're eliminating. I want to know where.
Let me see.
I may be able to help. I don't know. I wasn't part of that, but I live at 90 Gold Street. So it's either in front of our entrance or it's across the street in front of the hospital. Those are the only 2 places on Spruce and Gold where it could be.
Yeah. It says it's on Spruce at Gold Street, but on Spruce on the east roadbed.
Thank you. So,
Right.
so
That's the DOT's words.
that's the where the school is and pets.
No.
Tammy, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually, this is pretty gloomy, but it's actually where the box trucks were.
Yeah.
Which seems weird.
Well, remember that they provide
east.
They provide
free membership.
Thank you, Betty. Free membership for essential workers. So I am
Spruce between Gold and William is where the box trucks were.
Spruce between Gold and William. Okay.
Box trucks were, I live on Spruce. The box trucks were at the end of Spruce on the corner of Gold, right?
Gotcha.
I think where these bikes was. Look, I don't care either way, to be honest with you, but it's also important for people to know that there's bikes at the other end of Spruce as well.
Well,
yeah.
Let me say that number one, if memory serves me, it's a stop and then you go. Very few of the cars stop and go.
It's a stoplight.
On Spruce and Gold?
It's a stoplight.
Yeah, there's a stoplight there.
A red.
I have to deal with it every day. It's a stoplight.
Yeah, it's a full traffic light. It's a full traffic light. Trust me, I'm looking at Google Maps.
Is that in the middle of the street?
It's at the very end.
Yep, and it's a T intersection. You make a right or a left.
Correct.
There's a stoplight there, right there on Spruce and Gold. Yes.
Betty, do you know if it's on the north side of the street or the south side of the street? Because there's parking on both sides.
Spruce and Gold, not in the middle of the street.
It says Spruce Street on the east roadbed by Gold.
Tammy, I'm sorry. Can I just grab the floor for 30 seconds?
Yep.
What's the timing on this?
They have not given us a time.
Has the hospital been consulted on this?
You know, that's a great question. We don't know the answer to that because they just came to us. We can certainly ask and find out, but we
I just want to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about when I talk about the box trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
I do. There were two trailers there. That's why I said they extended in between Gold and William. But if Betty is now clarifying that it is the east side of Gold, then that's in front of 90 Gold, because the westbound side would be the hospital when you're walking west or driving west. The eastbound side of Gold is in front of 90 Gold.
Okay, so it's physically on Gold, but not Spruce. I apologize if that's the case.
It's on Gold by 90 Gold.
That's insane.
It is not. Is 90 Gold.
Nadine and Stewart.
It's right there. May I jump in? This is right by 100 Gold Street, the HPD building. And if my memory serves me correct, they used to have a bank of those bikes out in front of 100 Gold Street. And they moved them.
That's where I suggested last night that they be in front of 100 Gold. That would be on Gold. That would be on Gold between Spruce and Frankfurt. If it is if it is the corner of Spruce and Gold, that's in front of 90 Gold.
Right, exactly. But I do believe that they used to be right in front of 100 Gold Street, in front of HPD. Because I remember walking by and I said, oh, that's nice. The employees can, people can,
Personally, I'd be thrilled if it was instead of the placard parking that they have in front of HPD. I'd be thrilled if they had a bike rack there, because in front of there they have.
They used to.
Yeah, they have placard parking and then accessorized parking. So what we can do is, if somebody is making a friendly amendment that they believe that location should be in front of 100 Gold. Betty, I think that's a.
I'll make
Tammy, before you do that, I'm sorry. Can I just offer a different motion? Can we table this, put it back to committee until we hear from the damn hospital? Which seems to make sense.
Well, that would make sense, but I'm going to put it as that is the responsibility of our council member to make sure that the DOT has done that. Quite frankly, I'm not reaching out and I'm so done with the DOT on this that
Yeah.
I think we make it in here and we put a thing that says they must reach out to the hospital. Now, one would assume that they have because they provide the there.
Bridge, make a left turn and then.
Well, I would like to second Joe's motion then.
Yeah, but by the way, thank you, but I must say, people who don't know the area just have no idea what goes on there, because there's, just before you hit the Brooklyn Bridge, there's a two-way roadway. So if you make the
Right.
left, you're going down, you're going west,
Right.
and then you have to
Yeah.
make a left because you can't go straight. And then there's a double roadway from Gold. It's a crazy place all around there. Both the
because you got one police.
excuse me. You have traffic patterns that don't exist anywhere else. Then you got the hospital, and then you got the school, and I just don't see it. That's all.
Okay.
Correct. And Joe, you left out at 80 Gold, there is a public / private garage, right? That the residents of Southbridge and the members of the public park in this icon garage. We don't own it. That's at 80. And then you got a couple of 1 or 2 parking spaces on that block. And then you have the ramp that is in front of 90 Gold that also gives traffic that wants to drive into 100 Gold.
Mariama, stop. Joe, stop. I heard what you said. Let's let Jeff, Vicky, and Colin speak. And then we're going to come back and put a whereas in here. DOT must reach out to the hospital, and that and that we can put it in here that we would like it to not be in front of 90 Gold, if that's what you're saying, and to be on 100 Gold. I have no trouble.
Well, yes, but if I could just finish that sentence, the reason I'm saying that part is because the ramp that is in front of 90 Gold is a ramp that gives access also to the cars that have to pull up in front of 100 Gold and use the electric to power your car. So there's a ramp.
Okay. But they're not going to block any of that because they know that. I mean, reasonableness has to apply.
But how much stuff can we have right there in front of one building? Okay, and then everybody else can, I'm done.
Okay. Jeff, Vicky, Colin.
This resolution is difficult for me because I am as annoyed as everybody else is about DOT's lack of engagement, or as well as any other city agency's lack of engagement. On the other hand, I'm a heavy user of City Bike, and in fact, especially during these COVID times, it's about the only form of transportation other than walking that feels safe from the disease, although not necessarily safe from the cars and trucks. There's kind of a, I don't know, a theme that comes through to the reader of the resolution of that City Bike is an evil that must be minimized, and that's what. And although I know certainly many of the people who've spoken in favor of the resolution don't feel that way, but it kind of comes through that way, that this is a nuisance that, we've got to make sure it's, we don't want it in this location, we don't want it in that location, kind of thing. And I don't have any concrete suggestions to changing the wording of the resolution, but it does come through as anti-bicycle, anti-city bike as sort of a general theme. And, I'm like every other New Yorker, I always hate any mode of transportation that I'm not currently using. So when I'm walking, I hate the cars and bikes. When I'm biking, I hate the cars and the pedestrians. And when I'm driving, I hate the pedestrians and bikes.
Touche.
And it is indeed very difficult to cram in all of those different methods of transportation in any kind of sensible, safe, or aesthetically pleasing way in the city. But I think I'm going to abstain on this motion, even though
I'll tell you what, Jeff.
Yeah.
Take a minute, look it over. If you have verbiage changes that you think would make it less pejorative, more simple, factual, come back to me before I call the question, okay?
I'll try, but if I don't succeed, I'll probably abstain.
Give yourself 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay, Vicky, you're next. And then Colin and then Betty.
Thank you. Well, I bike everywhere, and I completely agree with Joe. That corner at Golden Spruce with the hospital and the ambulances, that's a death trap for bicyclists. So I'm sorry, I completely agree. The congestion on Gold Street in general is bad because it goes, across FIDI. Terrible location, idiots at DOT. I mean, we must hire the lowest form of people.
No. Easy, because we do have some very lovely, decent people who work there. So whether they are
Tammy,
dictated about
it's not your cousins. No, I'm in the industry. I know what I'm talking about. I have the right to express this. My life is in danger every day because of bad decisions that are made by this agency. But I'm asking you, so I'm supporting Joe and everyone else, complete incorrect spot to add more congestion on Golden Spruce. Now, I wanted to know, there's a, whose phone is that? Did you say there's a new dock being proposed at John and Water? Tammy? It's a John and Water?
Yes.
So again, back to congestion. Isn't there a huge bike dock only at John and William? Huge. So it creates, so then down
that may be, but John and Water is closer to the ferries and closer to the subway lines on Water.
Right. And 2 blocks up, you have a huge chunk of the street taken up by city bikes. Like I said, I bike everywhere, but I have my own bike. And there's a school now right below at 90 John. And the amount of congestion and traffic when school buses come and block the entire road and then honking begins. I'm just asking, Lordy, do we need another bike dock only 2 blocks down, 3 blocks down?
Apparently the answer was yes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tammy.
Okay.
Back to my original comment.
Colin, Betty, Jason.
Yeah, I think you've already answered my question, but as someone who actually lives there, this is my neighborhood. I saw what the hospital did during the pandemic, and they literally owned the entire street, both sides, with ambulances, with a checkpoint center, with a military-style lockdown. I'm not for bikes. I'm not against bikes. I'm just for ensuring the hospital is okay with this. I would like to see that reflected in the motion. Thank you.
Gotcha. All right, Colin. Betty, you're next. And Betty, before you go, I'm trying to look through the drive. Do we have a presentation that they showed us where the bike would be located? Or did they just tell us verbally?
It was verbally, but there was just that map with 4 dots on it.
That's what I'm looking for, the map.
So that kind of gives you an intersection. It wouldn't give you an exact location.
I believe they presented from their computer. We don't have the possession of the presentation.
Lesson learned. Next time I want possession.
Well, I will look because I have a screenshot of it, but I can tell you that it's just dots on a map. So it's not in a particular location. It's on an intersection.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but that would be really helpful to see.
Yeah, we showed it during the meeting, but yep. We will make sure we get that going forward. Okay, Betty, sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
I just wanted to say thank you to Jeff. Very well said, and the tone of it is very troubling to me, given that we deal with DOT, and I hear everybody else what you're saying, but Michael and I just don't have trouble dealing with them, with DOT. So,
Betty, I will tell you the same thing I said to Jeff. If you can make a couple tweaks left or right that gets it to be less pejorative about the citing, more factual, I'm happy to take them, think it through, and then let me know, but not rewriting the whole thing, because there are concerns that need to be addressed. Jason.
There are a lot of negative assumptions. So I'm with Jeff. I probably can't correct enough. But thank you.
You're welcome. Jason?
I'm in the group of people that live in the neighborhood, city bike, and want to move on. So I like the way you're moving things on, Tammy. Let's vote or not, or vote up or down.
Exactly.
And we spoke a lot about it at committees. Let's move on.
Laura, you're next. Joe, you've already spoken, so I'm not coming back to you. Sorry.
I have an important question. Who's
Joe, hang on. Laura goes first.
All right.
Hang on.
Well, okay, I just wanted to support what Jeff said also. And I wanted to urge that we get good maps from DOT when we have these conversations. I think it would be really helpful to have a map of our community board area and where the bikes are, and then a sense of how many more bikes they think we need, and a kind of like really analytical presentation of the issues so that we could work with them and kind of like, I don't think we're saying we don't want to have X amount of bikes here. We're just saying we want to have input on where the X amount of bikes are. And I think if we could somehow make that clear and be part of the process of the siting, you know, understanding the constraints involved, which I know the sidewalks down here are really, there's a lot of stuff on the sidewalks that get in the way of siting the bikes. It's not as simple as we think. So that's all.
So again, I'll put it back to you the same thing. If you've got some suggestive things, Laura, that you think you want to put through, I'll run we can do it in the therefore be it resolves. And I'm happy to listen to all appropriate feedback. So no problem. Joe, while you're thinking, Laura.
Who's giving these negative vibrations off? Jeff says somebody's has this innate vibration against bikes. Who is it?
We're not here to point fingers, Joe. He was talking about the tonality of the resolution itself, but that's okay.
Well, if it's my resolution, I'm just going straight English language.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm getting dinner delivery. Sarah, you're up.
Looking at the map on my phone and looking at the north-south, you know, the actual map and the directions and things, seems to be on the block with the hospital.
Yes.
Really on the hospital block where it's cited, which makes sense because City Bike is giving the memberships to the people that work there. So I'm just throwing that out there that technically, looking at the map, looking at north, south, east, west, it's on that block. It's on the hospital block. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, which I think is why we didn't object to it there, because that was the goal. All right. I think everybody's had a chance to speak. So you see the therefore be it resolves that are up. If you have changes that you want to make, and that goes to the board members on the tonality of the therefore be it resolves, speak now.
I have a few suggestions. I'm not sure that it
Hit it.
cures my problems and may create more problems with others. But with a quick run through, I would suggest deleting on the whereas clauses, not the last one, that one's fine, but the three before it, the ones that describe the complaints, residents' objectives, residents reported, as well as the one about suggesting that you put bike lanes wherever you have city bike docks, because although I certainly like bike lanes, I do drive a car and ride in a taxi from time to time, and I'm not sure that I want every single street to have a bike lane that happens to have a city bike dock on it. So that would be one suggestion.
All right,
And
hold on a sec. Diana, slide the resolution down so I can see the last three whereases, please.
The one that says residents objected, the city bikes being wherever.
That I actually do want to leave there because it is a concern that is that was brought up and discussed in by and large.
Yeah, okay, well then I guess that I probably shouldn't go with the others, because that's one of there's a value judgment here, that preserving space in front of a restaurant is better than bicycle transportation. I think there's a balance between the two. I certainly don't object to balancing those kinds of things, but the fact of the matter is, wherever you put docks will impact someone locally. You'll be taking parking spaces away, you'll be taking a traffic lane away, whatever.
Instead of residents objected
Call
to,
the elevator.
we can, Laura, by the way, you're unmuted. We can say residents prefer that city bikes be cited in a park, not be cited. Because that is a preference. We're trying to support small businesses. I understand the concerns about the driving, but we are.
I think it's also supporting the business to have a city bike thing nearby. Myself.
But not in front, that prevents them from being able to have sidewalk seating, which is a throwback to what has been happening on Duane Street.
Right, because if they can't open their restaurant because they can't go onto the sidewalk, they can't have any business. So it has to be a balance. Maybe that's the word you're looking for, is balance. Because I hear what Jeff is saying and I agree with it, except
I mean, they've got to be somewhere, and they've got to be somewhere convenient and close to businesses, otherwise they're not useful.
Correct.
And so.
Well, but Jeff, we also, so what, if we're talking about balance, we can say that the residents preferred that the docks are not cited, because this is straight out what happened at the meeting.
No, I know, but when you report something in a whereas, that the implication is that we join those complaints, we share those preferences, and I'm not saying that people didn't say that, but the ones we all know that the people who come to meetings are the ones who object to something, not the ones who favor something, and there may be just as many residents who favor it, and for the very reason that it's conveniently located.
We had both. We had both at the meeting. I will say, you weren't there, but there were both.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm probably just better off abstaining rather than messing up your resolution, because I think the resolution is going to pass anyway, but I'm uncomfortable with these.
I'm okay with prefer, because we have, instead of objected to, we prefer.
I mean, if you say certain residents objected or something like that, but when you say residents unmodified, it's sort of a declaration that the people want X.
All right, then how about we add the word some?
Fine. No problem with
yeah,
that.
Some residents of that makes sense. I have a question here, and it's just because it's not showing it right now. With the therefore be it resolves, we're asking for transparency and input into where they pick to choose the places, right? Because
what we want is a master plan. We've asked to see it a couple times. Things have changed greatly since it's been 7 years since the rollout. We'd like to understand what the saturation, what the usage is. Where can we expect more? Where can we expect expansions? We'd like to actually just kind of.
And that's based on you. We already have a lot of bike stands down here, city bike stations down here. It's based on the data that we need more.
Well, I mean, we have some that it's hard to find a bike at as well.
Yeah, that's
right.
Statement.
That's right. So
we do need more.
Well, to try to bring closure. So on the residents ones, I'm fine with some residents objected. I'm also fine with some residents reported. I would like to get rid of the whereas that says put bike lanes wherever you have bike docks. And then I have some suggested edits on the be it resolved, which may be a little bit more important than the whereases. And in item one, rather than the word reconsider at the beginning of item one, reconsider the citing, I would say to consider. DOT is urged to consider nearby alternatives to the citing at X, Y, and Z. And then
we actually talked to them about alternate locations already there. So they're supposed to reconsider those sites, and in the reconsideration, come back with us.
Yeah, but this is the writing. This is the written resolution. And reconsider basically implies maybe don't put any there at all. And I would not support a resolution that says eliminate those two. I would support a resolution that says to consider nearby alternatives to those two.
That's in the weeds. I'm going to leave that be.
Can we say something like, while some residents support whatever, others have reported they're uncomfortable with placing these in front of a restaurant, and still others report not having been spoken to at all? Because I will repeat what I said at the other meeting, 90 Gold Street was not asked, and I don't really care how it comes across. It has nothing to do with not riding bikes. My kids ride, but we have our own. We don't use the city bike. But in any case,
Mariana, DOT has said they don't ask, they notify. They don't ask. That's part of the discussion we're going to have.
But if we're talking about what some residents prefer or don't prefer, then I think it might help to quantify the group if it takes 2 sentences.
All right.
Why don't I suggest we just vote on the resolution?
But also, I wanted to remind everybody that Joe made a motion and I seconded, so we have to disperse with that or dispense with it somehow, however that's going to happen.
And what was the motion about? Citing?
I don't remember anymore.
I believe it was just to not cite a location in front of the residential, on the residential side in front of 90 Gold, correct?
Probably.
Joe,
I apologize for prolonging the discussion here, so why don't we move to a vote?
And keep in mind, this is executive and it's 8 o'clock. So Joe, is that where we were?
Didn't they say move it to in front of 100 Gold?
We don't know if it's on that side of the street at all, because Betty said it's just
I
marked.
think that may have been the motion. Is that what you're reminding us of, Paul?
Yeah,
that was the motion. I think so.
Okay, so I'm going to say yes to that motion for a friendly amendment. All right. Now I'm going to ask if we can call the question.
Yes.
Second to calling the question. Yes, please.
Okay. So again, we're going to roll the way we rolled before. So it is a yes, a no, etc. So all in favor, unless you joined us recently and missed the first roll call, you don't need to say a word. Are there any no's?
Is Jason the only one that came in afterwards?
So Jason, you have to vote orally with your vote. And so Jason Friedman, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. You are marked present. If you are voting no, please state your last name and your vote. All no's? Abstentions? Any abstentions?
Galloway abstains.
Caruso abstains.
Kay abstains.
Cannell abstain.
It's 4. Okay, any recusals? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Motion passes. So
Sorry, can I
13.
just clarify abstentions? So I have Cannell, Kay, Amoruso, and Galloway for abstain.
Correct.
Star, I abstained. Star.
And Star.
Okay.
Yep,
Sorry, could you
that's
throw
fine.
Fran Kerr in there as well for abstain?
Yep.
Okay. So moving on, 13 Harrison Street came back because there was a difference, as noted after the presentation. It was widely discussed and determined that a new resolution was not coming through executive, that they would make a friendly amendment to the one that comes to landmarks. And with that, done. And thank you so much. Let's move it along to the next committee.
Okay, I'm going to do everyone a favor here and be as fast as I possibly can. We had a great small business working group committee meeting last month. We finally got around to doing some resolutions for that this month at executive. Tim, you want to group them together? Want to try that? Okay.
Yes.
The first one was super easy, came from Tom Burton. I thought it was a great idea. Currently, right now, if you apply for a SBA loan as a small business and you are delinquent in your taxes, you're automatically denied that loan. This first resolution is seeking to remove that restriction. The second resolution is a support of the Restaurant Act. If you look at the resolution, it outlines basically everything that does. And the third resolution is a little bit creative, leveraging New York City buying power to purchase supplies needed for small businesses for outdoor dining. That can include anything from barriers to reflectors to heaters to propane for heaters. We essentially want to be able to leverage the gigantic buying power of New York City to try and lower the percentage of on-hand cash cost for these businesses. Anyone have any questions on those? I can't see the hands.
I got hands for you. And Mariama James, your hand is up.
Yes, I volunteered by way of Colin to look into the program that was facilitated with regard to 9/11. So I did look into it, and I'm going to send you guys a couple of articles for the context. But basically, it was a FEMA program, and we can address it however we please, to city, state, federal, whatever the case is going to be. But this one was a FEMA program as part of the Individuals and Families program. Individuals and Family Grant Program, sorry. Okay. And I tried to get like a more specific name as to this, exact component of that grant program. And I couldn't find that, but what I did find was a report on all of the FEMA programs at the time by the GAO, the Government Accountability Office. And so if we want to really get into the weeds, we can find it. The reason I pulled a couple of articles on this is because you will find, if you do, go down that rabbit hole, you'll find that at one point some derogatory and negative reporting comes back on it. But I wanted to give you everything because that was also corrected. Some people, there was an argument that there was a lot of fraud and it was determined to not be true ultimately. And Carolyn Maloney and Gerald Nadler came out strong against that, corrected the record. So ultimately it was found to be a good program.
Yep. And I think anyone who's been watching my resolutions, you'll notice that I try and be as vague as possible. I do that on purpose. I'm not a big fan. I always say I'm not a big fan of picking out the paint or the blinders. I just want to push the city in a certain direction. And that's what this goal is here.
Okay. So if you're comfortable, you can refer to just the Individuals and Families Grant Program of 9/11.
Thanks for the homework. I really appreciate it.
Okay. So let's call the question.
Seconded.
Fantastic. I think everybody's with us who was with us before. All in favor? If you are a no, please say your last name and your vote.
Are we taking all these together?
We are indeed.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any abstentions? Any recusals? Motion passes. Next committee.
Wait, Tammy, just one quick, I do have a plea like I had an executive the other night. The next thing I really want to address is venues, music venues. If anyone has any thoughts on that and how to help these people who've lost their jobs and the venues, the independent venues which are falling apart, please email me. I really want to get some ideas. That's it.
Moving along. Susan Cole. Susan, I know you're here.
I forgot to unmute. I said we could take all the resolutions together unless anybody has a question, and I can give two quick reports. Basically, just quickly, 62 Stone Street is Harry's is taking over basically that ownership of the financier, which has ceased to exist, and they're going to open up a cafe. It's all in the resolution, and they're going to serve aperitifs, supposedly, with whatever that is, but they need a liquor license, and we approved it. Pearl Street sushi is not a problem, and neither is the Nobu. So basically, those are the resolutions, and I'm perfectly happy to take a vote quickly if nobody has any trouble.
Does anybody have any questions for Susan in licensing?
Yes. How much space is Nubu asking of that wonderful building? How much additional space? It says they're adding interior dining space.
It's not very big, Joe. I don't have it in front of me, and I don't know whether Jen is on the line, but it's not a huge area. And it's during this, what they assured us and what we put in the resolution is that it's only temporary at this moment in time, and they have to come back to us if they want to extend it. It is to be able to have additional seating, but within their larger space, but it is only temporary till this pandemic is over.
Just so people know, that used to be one of the greatest lobbies in the city of New York, and it's being shot to hell every time they come to us. It's a total disgrace, and we should not allow them having extra space.
Okay.
It helps the landlord too, because the space has been vacant for a long time. So that's why they came into an agreement to use it, to rent it.
There used to be nothing on the on that space. The lobby was a plain lobby, and it was the most gorgeous lobby in the city of New York. And ask any architect.
Here, Joe.
Here, Joe. You don't have any complaint there, but
you're giving them space.
We're giving it to them on a temporary basis. It's not on a permanent basis.
You know that doesn't hold water, temporary.
Joe, you can vote against it.
I will.
Mark and then Bruce.
Well, I hear what Joe is saying. It's an incredible designated landmark space, the interior, and we had a hell of a time dealing with it and discussing it over more than one meeting at the Landmarks Committee. And I do fear, just like the pilot program of DOT on, cargo bikes, that once it's installed, it never gets uninstalled. So it's difficult for me to decide how to vote on this one.
Well, listen, if you want to vote no, vote no. But I always have this view around licensing because SLA can overrule us. And I always want it down that we at least have a way to go back. That's my view on all of this. Mark has a question or had his hand up.
Just a quick comment about additional space. We've been noticing and we should keep an eye on this, and we have been, that the restaurants are expanding, but using, the social distancing guidelines, but the expansion doesn't take into account, like they'll give us we have 30 extra people, but the actual public assembly might be 65 when it's all said and done at the end of the day without social distancing. So this is kind of a little bit of a nuance that we got to look out for because once this the virus is over, they'd be able to expand the expansion space, be able to have the reality of the true public assembly. So that's what we have to look out for.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. How long is the temporary for, Susan, again?
I think it says in the resolution through this period of time, through this temporary in response to the state's executive orders, and has agreed to come back to the committee if they wish to add more seating after the alteration is lifted. That's what it says in the resolution.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any other questions? Bruce, you spoke. I don't know if your hand's still up. Jason Friedman, I'm not sure why you ended up down there.
I just forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, Jason's an attendee again. If you can unmute him and put him back up as a panelist.
Well, I need a second. I need a blah, blah, blah.
I'll call the question, please, for the all resolutions at one time.
You have one more hand up, and it's Jason.
Okay.
I just can't unmute him from where I am.
Well, I certainly can't.
I know. Lucian? Diana? Help?
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna look for.
Hey, for clarification, we're grouping these?
Yes, we are grouping these.
Yay.
Okay, Jason, your hand was up.
Just wanted to ask to be a panelist again, but I'll take this opportunity to say that I believe Nobu is one of the great downtown institutions. They bring a tremendous amount of traffic and money spending, and it's a good product and a long standing server of our neighborhood. So I would support them with anything like this, especially temporary.
Okay, and with that, thank you, Jason. Welcome back to being a panelist, and let's call the question. So it was called, it was seconded.
Seconded, yep.
We'll run the same way we ran before, assuming all ayes. If you are a nay on any of the licensing ones, can you please state your name and what you are a nay for? Joe? Do I hear any no's? Mr. Lerner? I swear he said he was voting no, but if he doesn't, on my...
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Lerner, confirm. Which one are you no for? Is it only 195 Broadway?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Hearing no more no's. Any abstentions? Any recusals? Okay. And licensing is done. Thank you very much,
I
Ms.
didn't do my reports.
Oh, keep going. You're on.
Very quickly, very quickly. There's a big concern around Blood Manor, and we're going to do some reconnaissance, but they don't have a liquor license. But I gather the complaints and whatever has been going on the street is that people drink on the street or hidden, however, and they go to the delis, and it's very loud, and that the staff, when they leave, are very boisterous. So there've been some complaints about that, but it's not really, there is no liquor license per se for Blood Manor. And then the last is 18 William. There was some mix-up around the 500-foot hearing. We got a good letter from Margaret that went to the SLA, as well as Gail and our other elected officials. We've sent a whole packet that we want to be informed. We can't speak when it goes before the SLA, but everybody is very concerned about this. And we sent the negative resolution that we voted on in February and additional documentation, and we're trying to be on top of it. And that's it.
Thank you, Susan. And I will say it was very nice to have all of our electeds jump on the bandwagon with us in response to the community. So that was nice. Justine, welcome to Battery Park City. Take it away.
I got it. Thank you so much. All right. So I've got only reports, which is good. I'm going to go out of order because I'm going to go with what I think are the most important ones first. So first of all, or last of all, number 5, the state of 421A and 421G affordability in Battery Park City. Lucian gave a great discussion and summary of both programs for the committee. And afterwards, there were questions about what buildings are still subject to or has 421A or 421G available to them in Battery Park City. Nick Squardone graciously provided us his list of what the authority is working off of and gave us the information that his list is coming from the Affordable Housing in Lower Manhattan report that our member Tom Goodkind had researched, put together, and compiled, and it was last updated according to the report that Nick forwarded in July 2012, and it was all part of the CB1's Affordable Housing Task Force that we need to put up. But just for the information, we've got Tribeca Point, which is 41 River Terrace with 70 units, River Watch, 70 Battery Place, 43 units, Tribeca Park, 400 Chamber Street, 81 units, South Cove Plaza, 50 Battery Place, 41 units, the Solaire, 20 River Terrace, 14 units, Tribeca Green, 325 North End, 14, and the Verdesian at 211 North End Avenue with 13 units. Lucian has access to the full report. Maybe this is, oh, you're making a face. This may be old as of 2012. Okay, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, it probably is. But this was the list that he had provided. What would be really great is for us to get this affordable task force up and running to update the list, update Tom's report, which Lucian has. Again, it's up as of 2012, but Lucian has it and it can be shared, which I think is a great thing. Everybody should take a look at it. Next, the Gateway Plaza Tenants Association class action settlement. Jeff Galloway gave us a great summary of all that. In real quick summary, HUD signed the settlement agreement, so it's now finally in full force and effect. There's some hiccups, but the Tenants Association is on it and working with LEFRAC and the management to fix it. There's some retroactive stuff going on, but they're working with it. Just so everybody knows, what the settlement agreement does is, in brief, affords 10 years of protection against double-digit rent increases for those remaining tenants who were in residence prior to 2009, and that's about 35% of the current Gateway Plaza tenant residents. The remainder are subject to market rate rentals, whether they're up, down, or whatever. Senior Life in Battery Park City, Marianne Braverman reported about what's going on with the time of COVID with the seniors. Things are okay. They were really good and going full steam ahead, but 9 months in now, almost, whatever it is, it's petering out, but they are standing firm. One thing I want to note is we at the Battery Park City Committee are trying to create a more robust dialogue between Allied Universal and the community. I remember meeting was a first step, and it's evolved into more of it. But we're looking to have Allied explain and provide a clear picture of what the ambassadors can and cannot provide in Battery Park City and what the community's expectations are. And with the discussions, how to bring them more in line with each other, because there's frustration on both sides. And I'm hearing a lot of it offline, and I'd like us to bring it online and have some, maybe it's a task force, maybe it's something else, but I think that the dialogue has to go forward. And once again, the Battery Park City Authority can act as some sort of a test case or a, I don't know, a shining light, like they have done with, which at least from my opinion, what they've done with resiliency, to how a community policing can be effective and how it can supplement, but positively supplement, the NYPD. And then that's about it. Rockefeller Park's opened, Mother Cabrini statue in Southern Battery Park City has been put up, and Belvedere Plaza is over by where the Mercantile Exchange is on the Esplanade. They've got a art installment that's called The House That Will Not Pass for any color than its own. Mildred Howard is the artist. It's cool. It's in keeping with social distancing. You can't go in and out of it, but it's a commentary on kind of inclusion and race and all sorts of stuff like that. And glad the authorities were addressing it in a quiet way. And that's it. I think I said everything. Any questions?
I don't see any hands. Oh, Jason, I think his hands was still up from before.
I would imagine it is, but anybody?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Moving along. Next committee is Paul Goldstein, Waterfront Parks and Cultural. Take it away, Paul.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am here to report first on Brooklyn Bridge Banks and dugout space along Robert F. Wagner Place. So as the resolution says, I don't think this is going to be a very controversial item. I should note that these are items that the community board has supported through its budget process in recent years. And we're just making a push for them now because, again, we're fairly desperate along the east side to create spaces, additional recreation spaces, additional open spaces. And we think we have some good opportunities here. We had an amazing turnout on of former skateboarders, or probably we had about 60 speakers on it, and they were incredibly eloquent, and they talked about what an iconic and meaningful space this has been. And just as point of background for Brooklyn Bridge Banks, Diana, you don't have the diagram showing where these spots are, or do you? Anyway, Brooklyn
I
Bridge.
do. I just need to switch to another document, so give me one moment.
Okay, but I'll keep talking in the meantime. Brooklyn Bridge Banks was open for years and years. It's under the Brooklyn Bridge, running from Pearl Street towards Rose Street, towards Pace University. Okay, so there you could see on this map, basically, it gives you some idea where these two spaces are. So Brooklyn Bridge Banks was open until 2014 when the city started some construction. They're renovating the arches. They told us initially it would reopen in 5 years. Now they're telling us it may never, they have no idea when it's going to be open.
These would be at home.
I should also mention, Bruce, in line of what you said about DOT, we invited DOT to the meeting and they refused to attend, which was not very helpful. We did have NYPD at the meeting because we know there were also some security issues possibly with these spaces, but NYPD didn't seem to have a lot of issues, at least from the person who attended the meeting. Anyway, the long and short of it is that you have a resolution before you basically urging DOT, NYPD, and the city to work with us to create spaces that we think could work for the community. I should note that, particularly with that dugout space, it's right on the border with boards 1 and 3. And I've already reached out to Aixa Torres, who is in charge of Smith Houses there. She really wants to work with us on this. It would clearly serve them as well. So this would be a rare opportunity to work hand in hand with another community board, another community. So I think that's also to our benefit. And I also want to give a shout out to new board member Rosa Chang, who's been really great and a lot of help on this issue, really figuring out things, getting in touch with people and getting people excited about this possibility. So we do plan to try to have a follow-up meeting with DOT over the next week or two, a smaller one, since they didn't want to come to the committee. And we'll report back on that. But in the meantime, you have a unanimous committee resolution, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. You've got some hands up. I've got first Colin, then Betty, and we'll go from there. Colin, you're first. Betty, you're second.
I was hoping I was the only hands up because I was just going to call it a question.
Nope. Sorry. Please wait. Betty?
All right. The details of this resolution were not known at the meeting at the time of the vote. Otherwise, I would have raised this objection then. I brought up at the meeting that there was a resolution passed by CB1 in September of 2020 that has some overlapping features. There really needs to be some resolution. In fact, this resolution doesn't even acknowledge that one exists in 2020, when it's already gone to the DOT with our recommendations for some of these same very areas. So I actually would wish that you would withdraw this whole thing and wait a month, as I asked before, and work out so that it works with the other resolution that was already passed by CB1 before promoting another conflicting resolution, which will only look worse in front of the DOT.
This was raised. Are you? Oh, you're still talking. Go ahead.
Because in general, I don't disagree with many of the things that want to be done, especially the skate park. There's some wonderful features there. I'm talking more about the procedural issues here.
I think this is an important issue that we should move forward on. I think we did try to see if there were overlaps. I think that other issue is overwhelmingly talking about the road, the lanes of the Brooklyn Bridge and trying to recapture those for pedestrians and bicyclists and others. And this is really a different issue as I see it. And I think most of the committee heard your comments at the meeting and overwhelmingly unanimously decided to move forward.
Actually, could I also respond on that briefly, Betty? So I thank you very much for sending along
Rosa, hang on a sec.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no troubles with you responding, but there are also 3 other people with hands up. So in
okay.
trying to maintain decorum, I will say yes. But next time, do me a favor. Don't, just, I'm trying to keep, you got where I'm going.
No, yeah, I
So
totally get where you're going.
it's Rosa, Mark, and Susan.
Okay,
Go.
thank you. And sorry, everybody. So first of all, Betty, thank you for sending that along. That was really helpful. And I did review it and to see specifically if there were any conflicts or areas of overlap. And so the 3 points in the Manhattan side that they were touching with their proposal were number 1, the off ramp that the New York Police Department is currently using as a parking lot, which swings around. So it's actually cut off right now, and they want to turn it into a cafe and bike service center. And we are not proposing anything with that ramp specifically. So that is not actually a point of conflict, but that's just something that happens to be on the Manhattan side. The other part is they wanted to do something called the understory, which was a community youth center that they were proposing to go within one of the, or actually 2 sides of the archways, the vaults, as we refer to them, on either side of Pearl Street. Both of those vaults, the entire bridge is actually landmarked, so they can't actually pull out one of the vaults and then put in their new proposed addition, which, because it's a landmarking issue. And then the third part that they were proposing was a microforest, which isn't specifically exclusively to the Manhattan side. It's all around. It's an integral part of their project. But the microforest that they were proposing is actually on the NYCHA property across the street from the bridge. So that is also not an area of conflict. However, I would absolutely welcome the addition of microforests throughout the park, the area that we're talking about inciting that's directly under the bridge. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Mark?
Yes, I just want to state make a correction here. Initially, when we discussed this resolution, it kind of looked like we were going to have a vote, and Joe Lerner interrupted and asked, can we have more details of what we're voting on? We weren't sure at that moment. I chimed in, and you know me, I'm a stickler procedure, and I asked Paul, please give us point by point on it, which he did. So the contents of the resolution, when voted on, were known. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, Mark. Susan, you're next, and then Jason.
I'd just like to say I happen to think Paul is correct in the committee, because I think we can't do enough to torment DOT.
Come on, that's not fair.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. I think we just 1 second. I think we've tried very hard and they ignore us. And I think it's I think we have to go forward with it. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Jason, next.
I just wanted to say back in 2015, I made some presentations regarding this, and we passed, a resolution in full support of reactivating this area. And I just wanted to point out that, we're talking about tens of thousands of square feet of what was park and was then stolen away. By who, not sure. But when I moved down here, it was a number 1 or 2 in the world destination for skateboarding. And of course, we want nothing more than to have worldwide destinations in Community Board 1 that promote this type of activity.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other hands, Betty made a request. I think, Betty, your request unfortunately was declined by the chair, so you can vote as you wish. And Paul, do you have anything else to add before we call the question?
No, I think we could proceed.
Awesome. Let's call the question. All right. Again, we run as if we were in person. Anybody, we will assume that all are yays, all hands are up for yays, unless you are. If you are a no, last name and vote, please.
Seems you lost Tom Burden. He's gone.
He probably fell off. Got to look for him in the attendees. Abstentions? Recusals? Okay. Motion passes. Noted that Tom is not here.
Okay, thank you. Let me proceed. Okay, the next item is we had a very good discussion with a gentleman named Kyle Kelly. He works for the Parks Department, Partnership for Parks. That is a group that helps put together and assist friends of groups for parks. And he specifically works with groups in boards 1, 2, and 3. Needless to say, I think you're all mainly aware that the city's budget situation is dire. The parks have had horrible cutbacks in their budgets. They've lost all their seasonal workers. So they are just, you know, he acknowledged as a parks employee that they're dirty and they're not being maintained. And I think anyone who is around the parks knows we're having a problem. So we really want to try to encourage people and groups and people from our district who are interested in helping a park near them to come forward. And I would perhaps suggest that, I know the community board puts out that weekly news blast. Maybe we could put this in there for people to contact the community board and me, and we will try to, you know, activate groups like that to help our parks. So that was a very positive discussion.
And the answer from the chair is yes. Write a blurb, and we are happy to encourage that. If you write us a blurb for the park with an email who they need to contact, then for volunteers, we are happy to share that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so last item, Hudson River Park Advisory Council recent meeting regarding Pier 76. Let me start with this, and if Andrew has anything to add, I'll let him go. Basically, Pier 76 is up across from the Javits Center in Board 4. It is a space that's currently occupied by the Tow Pound for the Manhattan Tow Pound is located there. So that is supposed to be part of Hudson River Park, and the state and the park and the governor have been pressuring the city for years and years, telling them they have to get out and vacate that space and find an alternate space for the Tow Pound. The city keeps saying they're having a hard time finding spaces, and from the accounts that I've heard, they are really not finding any spaces. So that's a problem. I would just add as an aside that there are people downtown who are looking into the possibility of suggesting 250 Water Street as a site to relocate that tow pound. It's not such a far-fetched idea. I'll show you the history of that site. There were parking garages on that site running from at least the 1940s until the 1980s. And
until we can make it a distribution center on top of that helps the community with cargo bikes. You know, it can't.
No, what we want to put on top would be a green space for the kids, the kind of green space that Howard Hughes was supposed to give us on Pier 17 rooftop, which turned into their famous concert venue. So anyway, the long and short of it is that there is a dispute going on. The state has said to the city that starting January 1st, they're going to fine the city $12 million and an additional $3 million for each month that they are unable to identify a site and move the tow pound off. So the city, it's another dispute between the governor and the mayor, and it's preventing the development of and the completion of that segment of the park for Hudson River Park. So that is the long and short of that issue. They are going to try to put interim spaces on there at some point, but that's about it. I don't know if Andrew needs to add anything to that.
No, Paul, I think that's fine for tonight.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Goldstein. Next. Oops, I'm sorry.
No,
we're good, right?
Say thank you all and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you as well. Now, Mr. Myhawk, are you with us this evening? I think he was supposed to give the report. If not, Tricia. And if Tricia is with us, great. If not, what we're going to do is push that report down a bit and see if Jen can do it. So let's go to the next committee and come back. Mr. Ehrman, Bruce, landmarks and preservation, you're up.
Hi. We will put 13 Harrison second. 271 Church Street, which is also known as 90 Franklin Street. It's the northeast corner of Franklin and Church, where Church and 6th Avenue meet. It's the Tribeca East Historic District. The application is pretty self-explanatory. You may wonder why we're rejecting one infill window. It's really a two-story beautiful bay with original cross and cross, double height, elaborate windows and moldings. And this building, it's amazing. It's been through many lives and it's virtually intact and looks like it was just built with incredible original detail from 1930. So we rejected it. If anyone has any questions on that, they can. Otherwise, we can move on to 13 Harrison Street. Actually, we should vote on each separately because 13 Harrison Street may be slightly involved. So how do you want to do it, Tammy? Should we do it now or at the end?
I think we should take 13 Harrison separate. I'd like, we could do Trinity Wall 271. You want to do that together?
Okay. So 13 Harrison Street, well, actually, after having, when the presentation was made to us, by the way, do we have the video as to post?
I do have the video. Hi, Bruce, it's Diana. Give me just one moment. I need to switch to another application.
Okay, leave that up for a minute though, while you're switching. This is, when the presentation was made, the mock-up on the roof of the size and bulk was not up. After it went up, whether it was congruent with the drawing in the presentation or there was a real disconnect, I don't know, but looking at the view corridor from the corner of that street, it's an extremely disruptive mass and height. on an intact 19th century block. In fact, there are matching buildings next to it, and its presence is, for me, alarming. However, prior to looking at the mock-up itself, Susan looked at the mock-up. Alice, I believe Alice looked at it. Someone else looked at it. I wrote a resolution other than what we passed at Landmarks and Preservation, with what I thought was, the actual visual knowledge. Decided not to. We didn't vote on that resolution in the executive committee because it wasn't cut and dried. So what I wound up doing subsequent to the resolution that you see is suggested 2 amendments, which you haven't gotten yet, but it's so simple, I could read it to you. So, oh good, you could press you could turn it on if you want now. This is the actual, this is the street front. That's the bulkhead, it's completely visible. Otherwise, there is no visible rooftop extension of any sort. And we can go back again, Staple Street now. We're moving west on Harrison to the corner of Greenwich Street. So, I don't know exactly how to handle this procedurally, but you see the resolution, and I am suggesting that we add before the last whereas, upon viewing the mock-up, the proposed rooftop addition appears larger and more visible than presentation materials seemed to indicate, and I'll leave out, and a serious rupture to a beautifully intact 19th century block front. I'll leave that part out, just the first part. And at the end of the therefore be it resolved that, adding, but urges the LPC to direct the applicant to reduce the visible height and bulk of this proposal. Is that clear? I hope so. So
let's open it up for questions after the video runs, and then we'll see how clear it is. How's that?
Good. That's the video read. So.
I also put the video in the chat, so everyone can also watch it on their own computers if they wish.
So again, what Lucian has said is, if you are by any chance on a phone, he has posted the video in the chat so you can review it on your computers if you'd like. I see Betty has a hand up, followed by Andrew thus far. Betty. Oh, Betty's hand is gone. Andrew Zelter.
So Bruce, from a practical standpoint, is there any structure you could put up there that would accomplish that, therefore be it resolved?
Sure, a lower, this is at least 26 feet above the current rooftop. A lower one. I mean, although visibility is one of the main criteria in the landmarks district, obviously things get approved all the time that are not, let's say, egregiously out of character. I don't like the glass facade, which has nothing to do with the Tribeca West Historic District, but that's another matter. It's not really, the facade itself is not visible. The mass and the bulk are, and it's very disruptive. But yes, if it were lower, it could be, I would accept it if it were lower. It's not a matter of me accepting it because I have to represent the committee, and the committee had voted in favor, although most of the committee did not see the mock-up because it was only up for 3 days and it was after the presentation.
So just based on your experience, and this might be a tough question to answer, but based on your experience, what's there now is give or take 25 plus feet. Based on where you took this video from, what do you think it would have to be reduced to such that it wouldn't be an imposing mass or height?
I have to say that it's been the general position of the Landmarks and Preservation Committee for very years that we do not redesign. Proposals. We opine on their contextuality and the visual bulk and so on, but we don't redesign it. This, by the way, is the as you can see, this is the original presentation. If you flip back to, well, the video, you'll see the difference. But even, well, there, I mean, that's anyway, I can't say what height would be acceptable because we need to see a mock-up, but if it were lower, it would be more benign without preventing the owner from building a rooftop extension.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that puts us as Susan Cole, then Vicky, then Alice. Susan, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to say, I didn't get to go by a second time, but I went by the first time. I think Bruce's change is correct, and I think it's just too high. That's it. I don't have any more to say.
Okay, that Vicky?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree, Bruce. One of the things, as I recall, we had discussed, and I think the height that was designed for comes, and this might help Andrew's questions, comes from the desire, I think, to have a two-story inhabitable space. So the first one is the studio, and yes, the glass facade and all that. But then they want to go up one floor up and have a terrace. And I think that whole thing also extended it high. It was, a bit of an overreach to get a higher view and a different experience. So this was problematic for us. Thanks, Bruce. This was a good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Alice?
Yeah, I did go by there today, Bruce. And I just wanted to know, I could not find the sloping glass roof scaffold. Is that somehow completely hidden then? It didn't make sense to me. I thought that was coming up 5 feet and then canting back to the penthouse block that's there. I couldn't, is that in this photo that's here, because we're not seeing all of the pictures, is that there somewhere and we're just not seeing it? I'm talking about the slope roof.
I could never understand, Alice. There's the slope. I could never understand why we don't see that as part of the mock-up. It makes no sense to me that it's not visible from. You saw the picture. I mean, the parapet isn't higher than that entire cross section. Do we have a picture of the front of the facade, Jen, so that you could just see what the actual total proposals? Keep going. Keep going.
Alice, I think it was.
I know there is one. I guess we don't have it here. There's one that shows the rendering of what the front of it looks like. Is that it?
Bruce, I think it's 7 feet high. I recall asking that question.
Yeah, well,
it's 7 feet high.
Right. If you look at A10, Bruce, it's
on. If you are uncertain, I know that we can recognize and call on Bill to answer that one question. We usually do not recognize anybody in the outside of board members, but if you do not remember, I would prefer to have the accurate information shared.
And meanwhile, Jen, please continue going through the slides.
Should I unmute Bill?
Yes. To answer the one question.
Okay, you're unmuted.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. The parapet that's the top of the glass is 15 feet, almost 16 feet above the roof line. That is not the cornice that you see. The cornice that you see rises 42 inches above the roof. So much of what you're looking at is when you stand on the corner of Greenwich, is the masonry party wall. I don't have the benefit of seeing, I'm on my phone, so I don't have the benefit of seeing the drawings that are being presented here. But
Bill,
Bill,
can I just ask the question is simply, is the scaffold that's up showing the slope roof or not?
Yes, it described all the lines of the roof. not the face of it, the 4 lines that describe the plane. The scaffolding up, the orange scaffolding defines the lines of the axonomic drawing that you have.
Thanks.
Okay. So I think we've gone through all the questions that we've got. I see no more hands up. Oh, Jason Friedman. Sorry, Jason. You're up. Jason, unmute yourself, please.
I just wanted Bill to speak for himself, and he covered the questions.
Thank you. I think we're set. So let's get going. Bruce, did you change the resolution for the amendment to add the friendly amendment? Uh-oh, Bruce disappeared. Bruce.
I'm sorry. I didn't because there wasn't time, but I read it at the beginning of my presentation. It was 2 sentences, 2 new sentences in 2 locations, which I can read again. And I want to point out to the board that I didn't a different resolution reflecting my personal opinion only, because to vote on this and to vote against this resolution at this point means we have no recommendation for the Landmarks Preservation Commission. So do you want me to read the 2 sentences and I can?
Yes, please. And
okay.
Diana, if you can put back up the resolution so we understand where it goes.
Bruce, can you just remember the street level canopy, the very large canopy that covers the entire sidewalk?
I do, and I mentioned it. I mentioned it in the middle of the project. Also includes a large skylit canopy. I think it's on the original.
Thank you.
On there.
Yes, topping the first floor, extending to the curb.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, oh, there it is. So before the last whereas and after the one that says was not available for viewing, I'm adding whereas upon viewing the mock-up, the proposed rooftop addition appears larger and more visible than presentation materials seemed to indicate. And at the end of the existing, therefore, be resolved that, adding, but urges the LPC to direct the applicant to reduce the visible height and bulk of this proposal. We're not changing the architecture, which I disagree with. We're not changing the canopy, but we're amending the approval, which it still is.
Okay. So with that in mind, let's call the question. All right?
Yep, second, you're calling the question.
Fantastic. So everybody who's on board, same as we all recognize as a yes. If you are a no, please state last name and your vote. Any no's?
Zelter, no.
No. Lerner, no.
That's Zelter, no. Lerner, no. Any others? Abstentions?
I'm sorry, Cameron, no.
Cameron, no. That's the 3rd no. Abstentions?
Frank abstains.
So that's Frank.
Schneck abstains.
All right, slow down. I need to repeat abstains. So I've got Schneck.
Franker as well.
Francoeur. Was that Cassell who's a little squeaky?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Cassell abstains. Meltzer abstains.
Brown Kennedy abstains.
Brown Kennedy abstains. Any other abstentions?
Okay.
Abstains.
James abstains.
James abstains.
Kuchia abstains.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Stark abstains.
Oof. Okay. Anybody else? Any recusals?
Tammy, can I ask a question before you close the vote?
Yes, sir.
A no vote means you're not supporting the therefore be it resolved, urging the LPC to ask the project to reduce its mass and height. That's what a no vote means. You're opposed to that?
A no vote means that you do not agree with the application pretty much in anything, because we're saying yes with it's a yes, but, right? So our but is the reduction in the height.
So how would one vote if you were in support of the application? You wouldn't?
Yes. You would vote yes.
But that doesn't make sense because you're saying yes if you reduce the height. That's why I abstained because I think it's okay the way it is.
Well, then you abstain. Then you say no.
No, but then it sounds like I don't want any addition on top of the building, and that's not my intent.
Madam Chair, point of information for procedural part.
Patrick, go.
I think what the cleaner way to do this, and probably the proper way, and I apologize, I should have jumped in before this question was called. I think because Bruce's amendment is more than just a friendly amendment and does substantively change based on subsequent information the vote of the committee, with an operative piece that wasn't a part of the resolution that they voted on, the proper way to handle this would be to first have a motion to amend on that, on Bruce's proposed language, and then see, vote that amendment up or down, and then vote on what remains of the resolution, whether it is amended or whether it is original.
You are the parliamentarian. If that's what, parliamentarian says is proper procedure, I am fine with that.
And I would ask Michael Kettering if he's here too to.
Mr. Kettering?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I agree with Patrick completely.
All right, so here's what we're going to do then. We're going to wipe the vote away, because the first thing we have to do then, if I understand Patrick and Michael Kettering correctly, is we have to vote on the amendment. It's the 2-line amendment to add or not add that to the resolution. Okay.
The amendment needs to be seconded.
Yeah.
So
Bruce
Bruce
has made the motion. I'll second it.
I'll second it. I will second it.
Perfect. Okay, so this is going to be a vote to add the amendment to the resolution, which is a resolution for approval, and this amendment changes our amendment to say yes, but with reduced height.
So we have to do 2 votes. Vote for the amendment and then vote for the resolution.
Correct.
If we're voting for the amendment, it's voting for yes, but. Without the amendment as is, if we vote no to the amendment as is, it's just yes.
No, you're voting just on the amended language,
I understand
whether or
that.
not to amend the language to add it to the resolution.
No, I understand it, but I'm trying to figure out what the effect of the language is, and that's
Understood.
so tell me what that was my question. I get what we're doing.
You get correctly. So the resolution was a full positive without restriction on the height of the addition. If you vote for the amendment, it is still an approval, but you are also saying that the height could be restricted.
Got it.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the amendment before because it's been called and we're ready to roll. So all in favor of the amendment is a yes. If it's a no, please call your name and say no. All right, so are there any no's?
Mahoney, no.
Star, no.
Turn no.
Kay, no.
Schneck, no.
Kuchia, no.
Any abstentions?
James, abstain.
Any recusals? Okay, so amendment passes.
Timmy, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was muted. Can we go through the opposed one more time? They were a little fast. So if you were opposed, can you just say that one more time for me?
Read who you have, so we'll go that way.
Yep, I have Let me start from beginning. I have James as abstain. I have Mahoney as opposed, Schneck as opposed, and Zelter as opposed.
You have
I know I'm
Star.
missing people.
Star was opposed. Thank you, Laura.
Okay.
Lerner, no. Lerner, are you opposed to the amendment, Joe? The amendment was to lower it.
No. I'm
Exactly.
opposed to the idea.
Gotcha. I understand that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, and then I think Betty, you were the, right?
There was no on the amendment.
Correct.
Okay.
And Kuchia is no on the
Two, I
amendment.
think.
Fran Kerr was also on the amendment.
Yep.
Right.
Kuchia.
Okay. Frank Kerr and Kuchia.
Right.
And Lerner is a yes for this one?
Correct.
Okay.
And Brittany and Tammy, I'm sorry, when this is all resolved, can you just please give me the final tally for the amendment?
So the amendment passes because if I understand correctly, between the noes and the abstentions, we have 7. Amendment passes.
I just need the tally, please.
She'll send that to you off the side, same as we do every other way. So for the amendment passes. So now we're on to the resolution itself. And this is now with the resolution. Are you saying this is an approval of 13 Harrison with the amendment with it, which is a request to lower visible? Now, if you are in favor, that's a yes. If
Along
you're
with
not
the
in favor
approval
of
of
the
the design,
approval
I'm sorry.
as amended, it's a no. Let's call no's.
Mahoney, no.
Kay, no.
Zelter, no.
Fran Kerr's a no.
Schneck, no.
Star, no.
Lerner, no.
Joe, this. Joe, I hear where you're going, but understand what you're voting on here. Did you want the lower or not?
No, I want nothing.
Then you need to vote yes.
Then I vote yes.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have Mahoney, Star, Schneck, Zelter, Kay,
Okay.
Tammy, allow Joel Capel to vote. He was muted.
Copel.
I'm voting yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so just to confirm for the no's, I had Mahoney, Kay, Schneck, Zelter, Star. Who else?
Kuchia.
Kucha. Okay. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. It was a little confusing. We appreciate our parliamentarians and the process for making it work.
Thank you so much. There's one more report, and Tammy was very involved in this. This is I'm sorry.
Historic South, it's the historic South Street Seaport.
Right, the Howard Hughes proposal to build on both roads. I'm sorry, 250 Water Street and 173-69 John Street. As you probably have all heard, on the parking lot site across from our school, the 250 Water Street site, a giant double-story building is proposed. And do we have the rendering?
Yep.
There. Funny the way it pops in, this centaur in the middle of a low-rise historic district. The applicant kept referring to like the buffer zone between the landmark district and the non-landmark district. LPC has never recognized, never, a transitional zone. There's no such thing. We even wanted 20 years ago for LPC to recognize a transitional zone where there isn't an abrupt shift between the designated district and the neighboring neighborhood. They didn't. So there's nothing transitional about this. It's an immense eyesore. It involves the displacement of unused development rights on the pier. It looks like this is another situation where the city is moving without us. I don't know how we're going to stop this. I will also add that the other building, which would wind up being a renovation and also addition to the South Street Seaport Museum, I would take that image, is arguably better than the architecture of the giant towers. We also had some issues with that architecture, but it's much more contextual. It serves the landmark district much better. However, Tammy asked the brilliant question after 3 hours of meeting. By the way, is this getting built? Can we move on to show the illustration of the actual building? We're not there yet. That's what exists, and the renovation. Well, maybe we don't have it. I'll just let you keep flipping and I'll keep talking. This part of it was well. The idea is that the building would find in perpetuity the survival of the South Street Seaport Museum. Tammy said, well, is that money earmarked for the construction of the building? And lo and behold, the money is not. The money is ostensibly earmarked for an endowment for the South Street Seaport Museum. And the South Street Seaport Museum isn't required and doesn't have to and might not build this building. So that leaves us with that giant double tower and perhaps no extended museum. The last thing I want to say, and Tammy, I'm sure will add things, is just having been on the community board for 21 years, the viability and sustainability of the South Street Seaport has never been off the table. It's been an issue for a quarter of a century. It never ends. And at some point, one has to say, well, there are other dire needs for other dire nonprofits in our catchment zone, including Lower Manhattan Cultural Council. The Poets House just closed, which was a wonderful thing. This sort of has to stop. Like, it's very nice to have a South Street Seaport Museum, but both its programming and its existence have been in question for quite a while. We're doing a resolution in December, by the way. We don't have one this month. Tammy, I'm sorry if I saw.
The only thing I'm going to add is if you did not attend Landmarks, if you would like to see the presentation or the recording, I urge the entire board. It is way too much information to give and a report at full board. I urge you to look through the presentation. I urge you to look through the environmental impact and everything that we have that is available. Email the office, Lucy, Diana, Jen, Lucian, anybody can get it for you. We have a lot of it out there publicly. You must educate yourselves.
Because it was confusing.
And it continues to be. Patrick, go ahead. I see your hand.
I just want to echo that point and especially encourage members of the land use committee to do exactly that. I attended because this is a precursor potentially to a land use application, as I think everybody can appreciate. And there's a lot of information that can be mined from those presentations as well. And it's really good to have that history going into this. And I thought that there was a lot of course, information missing from the landmarks review, but be that as it may.
Exactly. Thank you, Patrick. Bruce, did we do the other resolutions? Did we pass those yet? We didn't.
Question. I forgot.
No, I don't think we did.
Oh, wait a minute. Jason,
we're going to take 270.
Jason, will you? Oh, I can't.
We're going to take 271 and Trinity.
And I'm going on and on. Can Jason, are you there?
Take 271 and Trinity super fast, please.
I don't think we even presented Trinity, did we? I mean, we can just vote on it. It's fine. Otherwise, Jason, why don't,
Are there any
Jason,
questions?
It was non-controversial, except that we wanted the intensity of the digital signs to be worked with at staff level. I believe that's what we came to. Otherwise, it was an approval.
Call the question.
Thank you. Seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for Trinity and 271 Church, and thank you to Brittany for reminding us that we didn't pass that vote yet. So, all in favor for a yes is the way we work. If you are a no, please state your name and your vote. Calling on no's.
Amaruso, no on Trinity.
Thank you, Mark. Perfect. Anyone else? Fantastic.
Lerner, no.
On both or one?
No, on Trinity.
Thank you. Any abstentions? Any recusals? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And Bruce, thank you. Again, support our landmarks committee, people, folks. Support the land use committee. Watch and read and educate yourselves. The historic South Street Seaport. This is our opportunity.
Thank you.
Next committee. So if we're going environmental, Alice, and then we're going to go to youth and ed afterwards.
Well, wow. Hi there. What is it? 9:18, and we're going to move into a zoning text amendment that makes 250 Water Street seem simple. All right, I will, on 250 Water Street, the update of the brownfield cleanup, just quickly, the update will really happen hopefully on our next meeting on December 7th. Our community consultant, Laura Dodge, advised us that they're in a holding pattern and are looking through the data still. So that's what is the update. We'll hear more hopefully December 7th, and most of this data collection should be completed in the next week or two. So moving on to the zoning for coastal flood resiliency, it's definitely something people are going to want to read through if you're interested. It is a pretty impactful text amendment and spending a lot of time with it. Allison Brown and Jean Yu from DCP came and presented. I'm just going to read what Kramer Levin provide. Diana, go back to the first slide. Sorry, just so everyone knows what it is, and then we can quickly go through sort of some of the details. But basically, this was certified for public review on October 19th, same time as Governor's Island. It's a citywide text amendment known as Zoning for Coastal Flood Resiliency. The proposal seeks to update and make permanent those zoning regulations that were adopted on a temporary emergency basis after Hurricane Sandy to facilitate flood resilient construction within New York City's flood hazard areas. If adopted, the text amendment would affect mostly properties located within the city's 1% annual chance, 100-year, and 0.2% annual chance, 500-year floodplains, although certain provisions would be applicable to all waterfront sites. In addition, the amendment would establish a framework of special provisions that could be applied throughout the city to facilitate recovery from future disasters, including those not involved in flooding, involving flooding or other physical impacts, including to address COVID-19. Okay, that gives you an idea of the meat here. So basically, this is about looking at buildings primarily. In fact, okay, so let's just see the next slide. I'll try to run through this. Okay, so as is noted here, the ZCFR would provide the option to design or otherwise retrofit buildings to reduce damage from future coastal flood resilience. I don't have to read it, it's in front of you. Basically, to make the buildings more resilient. And you see in front of you the different texts from which this has come. Okay, next slide. Essentially, there were 4 goals that are presented by the Department of City Planning for this. And we'll go through each one just very briefly. Next slide, goal 1 will come up next. So goal 1, encourage resiliency throughout the current and future floodplains. So this is a slide that Tammy had wisely put up earlier, which shows kind of the impact of this. So rather than looking at buildings, and take a look at Governor's Island for this, you're looking at lots. So the it's a much broader scope that we're looking at that the citywide text amendment is covering. Goal 2, to support long-term resilient design of all building types. And this is kind of an incentive of sorts to allow an additional story to be built on an existing site in exchange for assuring the ground floor of the building is made more resilient, either via wet flood proofing, which is in residential construction, which is allowing water to pass through the building, or dry flood proofing, which would be making a commercial space watertight and usable.
So for people who are thinking, why do I need to understand this? I'm jumping in to say, understand this will apply to every single building built on Governor's Island. This will apply retroactively to any presentation we have seen through landmarks for 250 water and the historic buildings in terms of historical context. So just tuck the information that you're going in, and yes, they are all on the same timeline.
Thanks, Tammy. That was a point that I wanted to make sure everyone got. So good.
So wait, this is for new buildings built as well as existing buildings to be retrofitted?
That's correct. Okay, next slide. So here, there is a floor area exemptions, and this is something that, again, on Governor's Island is going to be somewhat important. If a space is dry flooded, basically what happens is you take the ground floor and you put it on top of the building, let's say. So for that 10 feet that you're now going to flood proof can be then lifted on top of the building, making it simple. And so, which I think was pointed out during the meeting, a 360-foot building, which is allowable now on Governor's Island, could be a 370-foot one. Just in terms of terminology, which doesn't seem to ever be defined in these packets, but design flood elevation is DFE, which is used in building codes. And it's the same as flood resistant construction elevation, which took me a while to figure out, the FRCE, which is a zoning term. Next slide. So this is, I thought, a helpful shot that they had in their packet, which shows what this would basically look like. So this area on the ground floor you can see is raised. Next slide. So goal 3 allows for the adaptation over time through incremental retrofits. So what this means is, for example, if you're living in a building and you have mechanicals on the ground floor, this allows for the building to sort of, garner the resources and put it on the top or in a support space. This would be for obviously existing buildings, and new buildings would be constructed as such. And there's basically flood protection measures and support spaces would be allowed and would not be counted towards FAR. So next slide. I think we have some examples of, well, there's one for the mechanical equipment, right? So you could have a separate structure on top, and then support spaces. Oops. Well, anyway, if you go back, basically, there's support spaces which allow for other things that don't go off the ground floor anymore to find a home, and it's anyway. If you could go, I feel like I could either say a million things or nothing, so I'm sort of going with just letting the slide say it. But if you have a specific question about any of this, we're going to go over this in much more detail in our next meeting, which will be December 7th, where we're going to take some time to look this over more carefully together as a committee, and then again at the executive committee, so you'll have your shot at trying to understand this more. But we will look at this in vis-a-vis Governor's Island, 250 Water Street, South Street Historic District, so that we can really make sure how this impacts Lower Manhattan. Next slide. Is that it? Oh, no. Okay, so the waterfront sites. So, yeah, with the waterfront sites, that was a little bit of a gray area. you know, the idea is to encourage the provision of soft shorelines. The regulations would allow tidal wetland areas to partially satisfy requirements for waterfront yards, shore, public walkways, and planting. In addition, certain flood protection measures such as temporary flood control devices, structural landscape berms, and floodgates would be made permitted obstructions in waterfront yards and visual corridors. And this is something that's very important when we, again, look at a lot of the areas that here in Lower Manhattan. So we will do that. Goal 4 is the next goal, which is to facilitate future recovery by reducing regulatory obstacles. The ZFC, the Coastal Resiliency, would create a framework of special regulations that could be applied in the event of a future disaster to facilitate recovery by a separate text amendment to the zoning resolution. So they see this as a sort of element of flexibility in the text amendment. And there are permitted obstructions that will be allowed. For example, power systems that now will be considered permitted obstructions. In addition, next slide, accessible design will allow for ramps and lifts to be considered permitted obstructions. So as Tammy pointed out, the Governor's Island and the DCP wrote the text at about the same time, and both were certified at the same time last month. So we are assured that they've looked at each other and they're similar and not to be sort of not controversial. That said, the text here is about buildings being resilient, but as DCP stated, it's really not dealing with city infrastructure. And somebody asked about, well, how did the plans for Friday the Seaport fit in here? And well, it was answered, well, that's more about infrastructure investment and resiliency, and that's coming from a different, quote, a different end of resiliency. And I would say that we really, as a community, need to be very convinced as to how infrastructure as well as buildings are being accounted for in this particular text amendment. So that's something I think we should be looking at very carefully.
Alice, you've got 2 hands up so far.
That's that. I think I'm done.
Jason and then Andrew.
Jason.
Yeah, I feel like I've never spoken so much in a meeting, but as someone who owns a building, who had to rebuild their building from the ground up after Sandy, I just want to make sure that when we, actually write a resolution about this, and some of this came up during the meeting, it's fine to have a standalone zoning resolution text change, but it really has to come hand in hand with some sort of maybe in the sake of like landmarks, staff level changes to the laws, because as a building, for example, in the Seaport, if we wanted to move our mechanicals from the cellar, which is practically underwater, it would be the hardest part for us would be getting it across the landmarks table, and convincing them about visibility, all the stuff that we hear. And then also at the same time, it's fine to have all these new zoning text resolutions, but how is it handled at the building department and in terms of building code, which is another book that gets thrown at you when you try and do these things? And I hope that they're working, and we should ask that they're working hand in hand with these other agencies to make sure that it's a comprehensive some scenarios that we can set up for the smaller buildings, not just the mega builders that can just do whatever the hell they want because money's cheap or whatever, but more like the small condominiums and co-ops that line these neighborhoods on the shores of Lower Manhattan, Tribeca, Seaport, all these neighborhoods. So I think it's important that we, make them, push them to work with these other agencies, because it can't just happen as a zoning text resolution. That's a fantasy.
You're absolutely right, Jason. Both those points were addressed, actually. We did talk about landmarks and the need to have landmarks very much a part of this, so that they are aware of just what you're describing, that, you don't finally get yourself together to eliminate your ground floor mechanicals to find that landmarks has no interest in your, 5th story. And as far as the building department, in fact, they came and presented after, and they are very much in sync, or so they say. And of course, all these plans would have to abide to the requirements in Appendix G, which has been updated. So that has been to my knowledge, done and is referred to a lot in the text.
I'll also
Okay.
just make a final
Okay.
point that I think that, again, this is one of these things that really favors the mega developers. We all know
Yes.
how hard it is to do small projects like this. I mean, imagine adding a story to a 5-story building in a co-op of 4 people that, you know, don't make $20 million a year. It's just not, this zoning resolution won't help them. It's really going to help people that just, you know, money
So
and build these
Jason,
buildings. But that's it. I'm done.
No. Jason, you're not done, because now you have an opportunity to help us figure out requested changes, because we don't
Okay.
disagree on that. I brought that up at Borough Board as well.
Yeah,
Laura?
we really need all hands on deck for this, writing this resolution. We really need your help. So please come to that meeting, both meetings, the first one being at EPC on December 7th. Thanks, Jason.
I'll be there.
Okay, Laura, hi. See your hand there.
Yeah, well, just to second that, you know, that the DCP hasn't coordinated what they're doing with other agencies, and they do need to coordinate it with landmarks, and they need to coordinate it with DEC about the shoreline work, which I realize DEC is a state agency, but you know, otherwise it's really hard to move forward on what some of the things they're proposing. As I'm talking, I'm wondering if maybe we should have a conversation between this committee and the landmarks committee, you know, within the community board, to talk about the implications of this for the smaller buildings in the seaport.
Happy to have whatever discussions you want. Just know that it has to happen quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Simply because everybody's on the same ULERT clock. And while I think that's categorically unfair to put that pressure on a community board and to ask us to opine on 2 of the largest, you know, land use, landmarks, zoning things that we've had in front of us in a while, and change all the parameters by the zoning text amendment. You get where I'm going. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank
Really
you.
good points. Yeah, it would be really helpful if everyone who is interested and can spend some time in the next week or 2 to
Send
provide notes on all
Alice.
this and send them to Diana and to me, so we can start to compile this for the resolution. I have certainly done that, and I've included a lot of things. Rosa Chang, thank you very much for a lot of the good points that you raised in the meeting. I've gotten notes on everything. I'm certainly not going over tonight. Unfortunately, we don't have the time, but that's all going to be part of it. Yeah.
Rosa, you're the last to speak on the topic, and then we're moving on.
I just
Wait,
want to.
I see Andrew has his hand up too.
I
Sorry,
just want
Rosa,
to
go.
reiterate that I am available to help on this as much as you need me to, because I think it's incredibly important. And I just also want to agree with Jason 100% that, you know, and this is a point I made at that meeting, that the benefits to the existing buildings are very, very few and very, very costly. But the benefits to larger planned development that haven't actually been built yet, that are able to integrate these things, are enormous. And so I feel like if it has to happen, then it should be more fairly distributed and clearly delineate the difference between how new buildings are handled versus existing buildings.
Happy to have you on board, and please send all suggestions.
Yeah.
Andrew, I see you took your hand down.
Yeah, my question was related to that exact point, how the financial aspects will play out here. And I imagine it's too early to have a definitive view on that.
Actually said that they said at the Borough Board meeting that they are doing it to benefit property owners and new development, fiscally, to encourage them to do resiliency measures. So they actually did talk about the financial benefit and said it was specifically to target a fiscal benefit. We look at it and say that the fiscal benefit is not, there's no equity or parity in it for existing buildings, you know, what Jason and Rosa are talking about. So
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, retrofitting. I would imagine, unless there's a plan, the costs are going to be borne by the tenants of those buildings.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. All right.
So, okay, one more report, if we can bear it. And just one thing, while we've got everybody's attention on this, is to please, let's look very carefully at also how this affects city infrastructure. It's absolutely missing to me. Anyway, moving on. So the DOB, the Department of Building, came, I think, for the first time to the Environmental Protection Committee to discuss sustainability. So we heard about changes to the building codes and flood insurance maps from Joseph Ackroyd and Gina Bokra, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer. Very interesting conversation. DOB states that their objective is to transform the built environment to becoming more sustainable. That's good stuff. They highlighted at the DOB the local laws recently passed, which form part of the Green New Deal. The City Council, as most of you know, passed legislation which this board has supported to mitigate the significant effects of greenhouse gas emissions in buildings, which contribute nearly 3/4 of citywide emissions, according to the DOB. The purpose to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, with the interim goal of 40% reduction by 2030. The DOB assists applicants, they want to make clear about new roof design with solar roof and green roofs, which can improve sustainability and resiliency profoundly, of course. Local laws also include laws requiring building audits, a successful energy grading system for buildings over 23,000 square feet, which in fact they say forms less than 4% of New York's building stock, but 60% of energy usage. And like with restaurants, the DOB sees this grading system as helpfully competitive, where the public can understand how their building's energy consumption compares with others. The New York City Energy Code went into effect in May of this year, which is credited to being very forward-looking, with the understanding that energy-efficient buildings are, of course, more resilient buildings. The DOB is now looking into how to incorporate an energy strategy into buildings, particularly like solar strategies. Most of these types of strategies are now found on the exterior of buildings. They are working with the FDNY, for example, to get storage batteries safely inside of buildings. Our fearless Bob Schneck asked about Passive House, which was terrific. Again, the board is on record for supporting this, and asked if the DOB incorporates Passive House measures, and they state that that New York State currently does not accept modeling software for Passive House compliance. And once the state does, they can accept it, and the DOB says the Passive House was, quote, a great voluntary code. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. We then had a conversation about insurance flood rate maps. I don't know if we want to review that, but I'll just say that there are two maps that are currently being forced. New York City maps are interestingly based on data from 1983, which was redigitized from 2007. So to say it's outdated is slightly understated. That right now they only show 35,000 buildings in the social flood hazard, but there have been adopted 2015 insurance rate maps. And basically, New York City appealed these maps, which, however, they deemed valid because through the appeal they were adopted into construction codes. And the appeal was to allow for New Yorkers to afford flood insurance. So anyway, the updated maps won't be around until the estimate is 2025, which at this point the number of people will double who will need flood insurance. So that's, of course, a rather critical number, and the DOB agreed with the members who stressed the importance of educating the public about flood insurance requirements. And last, we heard from Josh Nakowitz, Senior VP of Economic Development at the Downtown Alliance, our friendly neighborhood and only bid, about how the Alliance supports sustainability and resiliency initiatives in Lower Manhattan, which they believe is an important part of their mission. They spoke about recycling and composting as being one of their most, sort of important missions and advocacy towards that. Went into some statistics about that, which is probably on their website. I think I won't go over everything because it's late, but they talk about working with certain companies that do self-contained composting bins, which were interesting, that they wanted to place in Bowling Green Park, but that had to stop because of COVID, as did many of the recycling events that they had hosted last year, like a shred-a-thon and textile recycling. And they've partnered with other companies to have more tech access. The one thing that they didn't answer that we're going to ask them to come back, and they will, I'm sure, sooner than later, just really to talk about resiliency in terms of actual property owners and what they were doing in Lower Manhattan since Sandy and how effective. That's it.
Thank you.
Sorry, you give me three huge reports. I did the best I could.
I know. Sustainability
Sorry
will
about
come
that.
back another time
Yep.
for that one. All right. Trisha, we're going to do youth and ed. Thank you so much.
Thank you for waiting. I'm very sorry, everyone. I'm going to start with the resolution, actually. The the mayor and Chancellor Carranza, there's a typo there, had discussed possibly removing all screens from screen schools and doing away with G&T during COVID. While looking at screen schools is probably a great idea because of the fact, mostly because they haven't continued building them and they're very overcrowded and now way too, fraught with some admissions issues. We did not feel as though this was the time to drop screens. Most importantly, because what we saw with their adjustment to remote learning is that they have no plan. As recently as today, the mayor was only identifying the problems we have and yet offering no solutions. And so to abandon screen schools at this particular juncture would be a disaster in our view. So this resolution just says, until this pandemic is in the rearview mirror, we should not change admissions methods, and we should also get on with it and let parents know what they're going to be doing for next fall, because they haven't yet. And it's very important. People are trying to make decisions, especially now with remote learning. They're trying to make decisions about what they're doing. And it's really important that we let families know. So that's what this resolution is about.
So I will say, let's call the question. Do I have a second?
Second.
Awesome. We're going to roll as we rolled earlier. We're going to assume you're a yes. If you are a no, call your last name and your vote. Are there any no's? Are there any abstentions? Any recusals? Motion passes unanimously. We love that. Trisha, I know you've had a long day. If you wanted to give a one-line update on any of your other things, we would be not insulted by that.
Well, G&T is tied in with that. We're not weighing in on that now. So it was all about just freezing it until later. New York Harbor School, only thing I'll say is we are advocating for them right now to make that school whole by finding them temporary and permanent solutions to pools. And then item number 4, really was continued discussion. We'll have more on that because we have a change in that area since our meeting, having pulled out of blended learning. So I'll shelf that one actually. And then also say that the public library is also on hold given what's going on. So that's pretty quick.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Diana, is that our last committee report?
I would love to say that it is, but I know that we still have land use, which includes Governor's Island. So let me get to that real fast.
Also have transportation.
Oh,
man.
Sorry, Betty. Let me find out which one's first. Hang on.
Quality of life. And don't we have quality of life?
Oh, man. Okay, sorry, guys.
All right, transportation. Betty, you're next.
Okay, great. Well, I can tell you it's pretty quick. My only comment is going to be on item number 3. And if I could have the picture. Should be the next slide. Yes. If people remember, back in December of last year, CB1 passed a resolution in conjunction with the Youth and Education Committee about Trinity School, which is here in the blue area. And they wanted the extended sidewalk space for gathering of children and families before class, which is the area marked in brown. That means the closure of the westbound Edgar Street. It turns out the DOT came to report, and not only they looked at the 4 options that were presented to us before and found with their crash studies and traffic studies that the one we picked, is the best option and the one that they were willing to move forward with. in preparation for the opening of Trinity School. Yeah, the new piece of information quickly will be because the bus door is on obviously the right side of the vehicle, and we have a lot of one-way streets here. The drop-off spot for the bus stop would be at Elizabeth Berger Park on the corner where it meets Trinity. So that's southwest corner. Again, there is a signal behind it, so the entering traffic can only come from one direction and is stopped on occasion. So it's not a disaster. Tricia didn't have her hair on fire when she heard that. We also found out that because of the way people will be exiting the parking garage, which would be right at the base of Edgar Street there and denting onto Greenwich Street, there may be some increased traffic on Cedar Street, which Pat Moore was not happy about. And we will be looking into that with the DOT to see what we can do to alleviate that one issue. And that's all I have to say. And there are no votes.
So thank you, Betty. Betty gets some of the hardest things, and the conversation's not done yet because Pat has feedback, I know, on this with your hand up. And if you remember, we're also going to reach back to try and get Liberty Street reopened.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this at all. I will oppose it constantly and continuously. That we cannot allow to have more traffic onto Cedar Street. This is extremely, I'll say it, disrespectful for the people who live in this little Greenwich South area. And I don't know if Bill wants to chime in, but I think this is ridiculous that they're going to put more traffic onto the only street that goes westbound at the moment, which is my street that I live on, which is a tiny little street. It's closed half the time because the fire department uses it to go in the opposite direction, to go east. But we can continue the conversation. I'm really angry about this.
Which is why we don't have a vote yet, and it is going to be discussed in committee again. Jason, is your hand still up?
Yes, and I wanted to let people know who aren't listening. The only option around that would be to open up the westbound Edgar Street, which was the request in the first place, was to give a place for the students to gather.
Can I raise my hand? I can't seem to do
Sure,
it.
but Jason had his hand up first.
Okay, I got it.
And then go after. So Jason? You muted?
So I'm going to say maybe Jason stepped away. Tricia, go.
I'll just say quickly, I'm surprised to hear, like, I did not understand that there was any unhappiness with the westbound lane of Edgar closing, most importantly because at least 12 or 15 times I visited that location, there's no westbound traffic. And I can't imagine, my hope is that it will not impact Cedar Street at all as a result. I'm surprised that there's a perception.
There's no other way to get to the garage.
But people weren't using that entrance to the garage that I saw. And I just, again, like, I hope that what I saw continues because it would be very little impact. I mean, I'm talking 2 cars in 50 minutes. And the only thing I saw on that street was the parked police scooters. So, or I never would have recommended it in the first place. But
We'll
they
have
also have to
take
extend.
offline and discuss it again, Tricia.
Tricia and Pat, let's bring it back to committee. Let's get Port Authority. Let's get DOT. Let's talk about the reopening of Liberty, which was the solution that was recommended but didn't feel was possible without advocacy from the community board through Port Authority and Silverstein and NYPD.
Very good.
Okay. Betty, thank you very much. I know you get a lot of the good confrontational ones. Jason, is your hand still up? Nope. Okay, we're moving on. Thank you, Tricia, very much. And thank you, Betty. Pat, you're on.
I guess I have to do it, Tammy.
Hi, Fern.
Hi.
Hopping on in.
Okay, so The at our October meeting, November meeting, the Governor's Island Trust came back to formally present on their ULURP application. And they gave us a huge presentation. I'm going to take you all through 100 and something slides. Just kidding. I'd cut it down to about 20 here, but since we're so late, I will just try and do the highlights. I think many of you are already on this call. Basically, the rezoning application is to allow a maximum of, more than 4 million square feet. I think you're all aware of that. And it's and the use is basically to extend it on the South Island, as well as, hold on, I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, so we're really adding a lot of development to the South Island. If we could go to the next slide, Diana, if we can. This is the zoning change map that they shared with us. We can go to the next slide unless anybody has questions. They showed us the sub-districts, the areas where they were, that they're planning to change, where the development parcels are. Let's see. I think so. What they did say is they gave us some information on things like density, and they wanted it to be adjacent to transportation. And let's see. They also showed us some of the planned connections throughout the parcels, and their plans for enhancing the esplanade. We had some questions there as well. They talked about the maximum heights, and there were a lot of questions with that as well. There is a transition zone. Quite honestly, I did not understand this slide, and I still don't. So if you have questions, I don't think I can answer them. We can, yeah. So, and then they gave us a couple of different views of, of what they expect the development to look like from various vantage points on the South Island. So we're just quickly skipping through them here. We have these slides, and I believe we have them available for people to look at if they're interested.
We do indeed.
So, yeah. And
so
they also did, these were the most interesting slides, because this is on the draft environmental impact, and they showed how the height would affect the island. And so that was a big focus of questions and discussions at the meeting.
But keep in mind, for everybody on the call, sorry to interrupt you, Fern,
Sure.
everything that happens in the Z zoning for coastal resilience text amendment changes the presentation that we have seen, including shade studies and everything else. How that's going to work, I don't know yet. We have asked that question. We're waiting to hear back on that.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So, here we are at the end. Okay, so the last slide, I mean, what I will say is there was a lot of input from the public. A lot of people signed up to speak. Obviously, we're still accepting written comments until December 14th. So any members of the public who are still on the call, you can submit your comments and to the ULURP application. I think we have it in the chat window. The other thing I would mention is there was a big turnout from the parents from the Harbor School, and tying into Trisha's comment about getting them a new pool, that was made very clear that that was something that was missing, and they were really interested in getting that done. Let's see. And there was talk about resiliency, but yeah, I think that's they come back to us for us to, we will be voting on the resolution, the draft resolution on December 14th for this application.
So again, I'll recognize some questions, but understand this is such a huge application. Everybody needs to look through the slides. Everybody needs to send questions. We'll be sending questions off to get answers back, and just everybody's got to kind of do their own due diligence. Going to recognize hands that are up. Jason, your hand is still up. Are you there? Mariama?
Hey, Fern, I apologize for not being able to stay on for the duration of your meeting. I was wondering if, with regard to the hotel, they at least hinted as to whether or not they were looking for any permanent residences.
I'll tell you, I think the answers that it didn't sound like it, but I can't really say for sure. It sounded like they did not expect there to be any permanent residents on the island, but it's really hard for me to say that they said absolutely no way, that would never happen.
It can happen because when the deed expires, there's a minimum of 735,000 square feet of private as of right allowed.
I mean, that was the whole thing. They did not say unequivocally anything was off the table. And so.
Did you say a minimum, Tammy?
That is what is allowed. Anything else would have to come back to us, is what they've said.
I see. Thank you.
Rosa.
Hi, I just remember from the meetings that it was pointed out that they were basing their building heights off of the Statue of Liberty because they were trying to basically be lower than the Statue of Liberty. But I just looked it up and the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet tall. So
correct.
I'm confused.
You are confused because all the buildings with the setbacks and the allowables are at 360.
Yep. Yes.
The zoning text amendment is approved, then you're talking 370 because there's a 10-foot bonus that goes with it. All the setbacks would have to be different. All of the pedestals would need to be different, and everything as presented for the structures of the buildings would have to be redistributed. So yes.
Okay, so they actually did not try to respect the height of the Statue of Liberty as a limiting height restriction.
Apparently
Okay.
not.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, I saw your hand up and then down.
I'm good, Tammy.
Okay. Mariama?
Is there anything we can do, maybe even just in general, about all of the privatization of public space? Any kind of official stand we can take? I don't know.
Good question. And I think you're talking to a vice chair and chair who would agree with you on that. Colin?
Sorry, I was muted. Just super quickly, I'm as upset about this project as anybody is. I would just say to the group who are asking questions, just show up to the next land use meeting where this is being featured. That's where you should be heard. That's where you should learn about it. And you should let them know how you feel. That's all.
Yeah. And submit written testimony. You don't have to wait just to vote. You can submit written testimony as well. Hiccups. All right.
I have to go to the bathroom soon. I just want you to know that. So it's 10 o'clock.
Jeebers, TMI.
Okay.
Fern, you all done?
That's it. Yep, that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Take us home, babe. I think you're it, right?
Hi, everybody. Mariama wrote her first resolution. It's the it's the walking while trans, and it's fabulous. So I hope you all got a chance to read it. Mariama, what do you want to say?
I just hope that everybody has read the resolution and will support us. And it's about marginalized communities that, you know, have a very different lived experience than most of the rest of us. And so that's how this thing was allowed to go on for so long without anybody taking up the issue, but the hope is that finally the Speaker of the New York State Legislature will do just that.
Awesome.
Why
So,
is this resolution up on the screen?
Diana, please put the resolution up on the screen. I think this is our last, if I remember correctly. Yes.
And I'll
I
give just.
believe it is. Yep.
Do you want me to give the report before we vote?
Yes, give the report, and then we're going to do a roll call vote.
Really quickly, Worth Street, Bruce, is due to be completed as of the last meeting last week is July 2021. There's a new project. I know. There's a new project that's slated to start on Nassau Street. Rosa, this is of a lot of interest to Rosa because it's on the corner of her building. It's from Pine to Maiden Lane. Right now, it's in design phase. It will last 24 months and it won't start until the third quarter of 2021. Bogatis Park is due to be finished. They're waiting for Con Ed to hook up the electricity. There's a clock there and there's some lights. And the first week in December, they plan to plant the tree. So that is that. Then we had about all of the proposed legislation from Senator Kavanaugh and from Assembly Member New about, stopping evictions and mortgage defaults. But there's a lot of legislation. The committee has a lot of reading to do. Also, we were told that by the time it actually goes to committee and they vote on it, there'll probably be changes. But so next month, everyone, in our December meeting, those of you who have never written resolutions and would like to learn how to write resos, we are between Betty Kay and Mariama and Lucian, we are going to have a lesson in writing resos. So please join us.
Please join them.
Please join us so you can write your own resos.
What's a res?
Or just get better at writing them if you write
At
them
writing
already.
resolutions, Joe, that's what they're talking about, writing a resolution.
Right. Congressman Nadler, it has some proposed legislation. The AMA has recognized racism in the medical, in how medicine is handled and dealt with as a health threat. So we will continue that discussion, and that's pretty much the report. So
Please put up that resolution that we're going to vote on.
Bruce, the resolution is about to come up. Diana's working on it.
Okay.
You're welcome. Keep in mind, folks, this will be a roll call resolution. It is our last. And as I know people are going to want to jump immediately afterwards, we'll need a motion to close the meeting. And so before that, I will wish everybody a safe and healthy and happy Thanksgiving. My best to you and all of your family members. Don't go visit. But if anybody needs a friend to talk to, if anybody is lonely, just text or call. All right, so walking while trans ban legislation. Question is up.
Questions on this, right?
I have not seen a hand go up yet.
Yay.
I just want to say I support it. Thank you. Well done.
Call the question.
That would be even better. I'll second your calling the question.
Awesome. So this is a roll call. Miss Brittany, take us home.
Awesome. So again, if you guys could just say your last name and then your vote, that would be very helpful. Amoruso?
No.
Okay. Blank?
Blank, yes.
Brown Kennedy?
Brown Kennedy, yes.
Cameron?
Cameron, yes.
Cassell?
Cassell, yes.
Chang?
Chang votes yes.
Chapman?
Chapman, yes.
Charkoudian?
Charkoudian votes yes.
Cole? Cole? Okay.
Susan?
Kuchia?
Kuchia votes yes. Kuchar votes yes.
Got it. I'll come back to Cole. Cunningham,
Cunningham, yes.
Curtis,
Curtis, yes.
Ehrman, Ehrman,
Airman, yes, to a terrific resolution.
Flynn,
Flynn, yes.
Franker,
Fran Kerr, yes. This is great.
Friedman, Friedman, Galloway,
Galloway, no.
Goldstein, Goldstein, Gupta,
Gupta votes yes.
Goldstein, yes.
great, thank you. James,
James, yes.
Joyce,
Joyce, yes. Thank you, Mariama.
Kay,
Hey, yes.
Kennel,
Canals, yes.
Kettering,
Kettering, yes.
Capel, Capel, Clementis, Clementis, okay. Lamory, Lamory, Lerner,
Lerner, yes.
Lewinson,
Lewinson, yes.
Mahoney,
Mahoney, yes.
McHugh,
Can I vote?
Susan,
yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Are you old enough?
Is everybody voting yes? I lost the whole thing. I was blank. Yes, I'll vote yes.
Okay, great, thanks, Susan. McHugh,
I'm
Meltzer,
disconnected. I don't know why.
Meltzer,
Yes, thank you.
Mahalski,
Mahalski, yes.
Bon Jovi, Bon Jovi, Moore,
Moore, yes.
Schneck,
Schneck, yes.
Starr,
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Sung, Sung,
Sung, yes.
great, thanks. Wade, yes. Weinstock,
What are you doing?
Weinstock jumped off.
God.
Turn the meeting over.
thank you.
No,
She,
just 10:10.
When will this be over?
1 minute.
Let's mute who's ever talking. Let's mute. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Laura. Keep going, Brittany.
she, shall she?
Yes.
Okay.
She, yes.
Okay, great. Great, thanks. Zelter,
Zelter, yes.
okay, awesome. Do we have Weinstock? Do we have McHugh? Lamory? Clementis? Capel? Friedman? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And yes.
Oh, that was Friedman.
Who's that? Friedman? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pat and Mariama. Anything else?
That's it. Happy Turkey Day, everybody.
Happy Turkey Day. Motion
Okay.
to adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
And
you got a
second.
motion.
So for my favorite unpaid public servants, thank you very much for everything that you do. Thank you for being active, and thank you for being a part of the volunteerism that we do to make the city great. Have a great
I want to give,
Thanksgiving.
I have to give a big shout out to Diana for putting together those slides for me that I didn't get to take you all through.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome, Fern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.